triggered by the original detection zone. So if you make the pass stick, you get that extra speed, meaning the car that you passed can't draft you into turn 2. But if you don't make it stick in turn 1, the flap opens here, and you get that little boost to try to make the pass stick in turn 2. On the brakes into turn 2 with that DRS advantage, you can make it work on the inside. You can even hang it around the outside, but as long as you're ahead into turn 3, there's no more DRS zones for the track, and chances are the position's yours. Now, it is a very exciting and unique bit of racetrack that often provides a lot of action and overtakes, and hopefully we'll see more of that this afternoon.
Well, thank you very much, James. We're going to be keeping a close eye on those first couple of turns, that is for sure. Now, behind me, I'm sure you can see the grandstand is full, wall to wall with fans, and they are expectant. They are ready to see cars on track. It is now time for the green light, and let's go to our commentary duo of Alex Jakes and Jolyon Palmer. Guys, I would love to know, do you think we are going to see a pass for the lead of the race in that first lap?
Oh, Oscar Piastri certainly thinks so. Nikki, talking about it afterwards in the press conference after qualifying, he said you can overtake at turn 1, lap 1, and in the pit stops. He knows that there's going to be a big opportunity as we see Lewis Hamilton go straight over the white line, past a queue of cars there. And Jolyon, really unusual comments yesterday from Lewis Hamilton, who said, I'm just useless. I just drove terribly. It is what it is. The car, as in the other car, is on pole, so you probably need to change the driver. That is the driver talking with the best record around this circuit in Formula One history. It was a tough day for him yesterday with his teammate at the front of the field, and he wasn't hiding those emotions.
And I think it really shows the emotions that you have with the comparison to your teammate. If Lewis was starting 12th and Charles was starting 13th, the reaction would have been very different. But the fact he's starting 12th with his teammate on pole, it was a shock pole that Leclerc put in, but it nonetheless makes you feel rubbish. It makes you feel rubbish. You're not even in Q3, and you've seen your teammate take all the plaudits. He'll line up on pole and has a chance to get that first Ferrari win of the season. Lewis was 2.5 tenths away from Charles in Q2. I still think the Ferrari car never looked like a pole contender until that final lap. That's the amazing thing about the session. So you do wonder, if Lewis had snuck through by 15 thousandths in Q2, probably he would have had a shot at least being on the front 3 rows. I mean, it was so close, the whole field. You'd say maybe if you can do the P6, you can do pole, but as it was, he didn't get that chance, and then the Ferrari came alive in Q3.
Fred Vasseur, team principal, brand new contract under his arm, multi-year extension for Ferrari. Fred Vasseur making the point that they just didn't execute that session well in Q2. And it robbed Hamilton of trying to extend his record around here. He's already got 9 pole positions around this circuit, but that is the car on pole today. Charles Leclerc leaving the pits. Cars at this stage, if you're one of our newer viewers, doing multiple laps through the pit lane. They're allowed to do that as per the regulations, as they try to understand what sort of grip they're going to get today. After a dramatic change, saw the times much slower in Q3 compared to Q2.
Yeah, the wind picked up and made it suddenly very, very difficult to find a consistent balance across the whole lap. And it really brought Leclerc into play suddenly, who did find the balance on a car that's slightly more trimmed out on wing than the McLarens, and that'll make him difficult to pass in the Grand Prix. He has to keep the lead on the first lap. I still think in race pace the McLarens should disappear if they get the advantage, but Leclerc has the track position. If he can hold on to it, this will become a real contest. And I think we might see an overtake potentially outside of the first lap of the pit stops. I'm not so doom and gloom as Oscar was. First of all, the start is the great opportunity, but after that, with the Ferrari on pole, the McLarens having better race pace, this should be a real contest.
You know what they say about Jolyon Palmer? Glass half full. Back to you down at Mercedes on the grid.
Lovely stuff. Is that what they say? I haven't heard that one. Well, I'll remember that for future. So we're down here at P4, which is where George Russell is going to be lining up. He said he is enjoying a big step forward this weekend, which is kind of ironic because they have actually gone back to an old suspension layout that they were using pre-Imola. So not so much an upgrade, but a downgrade. But it's working for them.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. I don't know. What it is it just kind of goes back to this issue that Mercedes seems to have, we started seeing it last year where the correlation between what they're seeing at the factory, what they're seeing in simulation just isn't adding up to lap time or to driver feel on the track. So this change has gone back to a previous suspension setting, and it's really not necessarily designed around performance gains, but just driver comfort and a balance thing.
Let's talk about his teammate, Kimi Antonelli, because he will be lining up on P15. He actually qualified P12, but he had his original, that lap time deleted because of track limits. But Ruth, they only gave him one set of tyres. Do you think that was the right strategy?
Super easy to be hindsight hero, but George got knocked out in Q1 here in 2023 from traffic. Antonelli was only 0.1 safe in Q1. They chose to sit in the garage there, and then only one set. I think they made it slightly harder. George seemed to have it under control. With Antonelli, probably I'd have given him an extra set, but super easy to say in hindsight with a microphone in my hand.
Yeah, exactly. And then actually, to be fair, he did say in the post-quali press conference that he was really pleased with how the car feels, and actually he's going to get the performance out of it. So maybe he is happy from starting from P15. Alex, Jolene, what do you guys think?
That is the key question as we're on board with Kimi Antonelli, winner here in Formula 2. I want to talk about another rookie in the field, a man who's about to start from his highest ever grid position in Formula 1, Gabriel Bortoleto in the Sauber. Fantastic performance, and now he's too clear in the head-to-head up against Nico Hülkenberg, and I don't even think Bortoleto himself would have predicted that at the start of the season.
No, I don't think anyone would have predicted it, honestly. Hülkenberg has been so quick for so long, but Bortoleto is on such a rich vein of form. You know what I was really impressed with him about yesterday was the fact that we saw in Belgium he was very good, and there's the stat to prove it. Really strong qualifying, but I felt like he disappointed in Q3 and SQ3, where he had really good pace, was up in the top 6 at times, and then just ended up 10th. And from there, it makes such a big difference. What was great yesterday is he ended up 7th. He's 3 thousandths clear of Max. He's done a really good job in that final part as other people's times were falling away, and he's almost matched his best from Q2 in a better conditions. And that, by less than 2 tenths, has put him 7th instead of 10th. And now his whole outlook for the race is much better, and Sauber can dream of scoring some more good points.
Yeah, they've scored in the last 5 Grand Prix in a row. The key to their season, the updated form they brought to Barcelona, and since then they have been outstanding. Hülkenberg starting today in 18th position. He'll be hoping for mixed conditions. We know what he's done in the rain in Australia and Great Britain earlier this year.
He's definitely got a chance to come through. Even at Spa, he ended up in the top 10, didn't he, with the mixed conditions and the right timing of the pit stop. But he's got an awful long way to catch his teammate today, so the hope has got to be on Bortoleto. And the more I see of him, the more I think he's the real deal.
Yeah, he was the winner of the Formula 3 Championship, the winner last year of the Formula 2 Championship, and Sauber don't have much of a margin. They're 2 points away from Racing Bulls, and Racing Bulls were really disappointed yesterday. They didn't maximise their qualifying result like Bortoleto did.
Exactly, that's exactly what I'm talking about. 9th and 10th, great having 2 cars in Q3, but oh no, 9th and 10th, that's as disappointing as it can be given you're in the top 10. So, and it's tiny margins all the way through the top 10. It was the closest top 10 ever, and getting that extra couple of tenths suddenly puts Bortoleto staring at the back of the Aston Martins and George Russell, and Racing Bulls looking over their shoulder at Behrman and Hamilton coming through. So your whole perspective for Sunday changes. We spoke recently about who's the best rookie in the field. You went for Kimi Antonelli. This was a few races ago, I'll grant you that. I went for Isaac Hadjar. Possibly it's Gabriel Bortoleto.
We'll wait until the end of the season to have that full chat in Abu Dhabi, but they're acquitting themselves really nicely, all the rookies with big moments so far this season. For one green team in Sauber to another in Aston Martin on the grid.
So we're down here at Aston Martin. We've got Alonso, who's going to be lining up in P5, and his teammate just alongside him in P6. What a result. Best qualifying that they've had as a combined this season. There was a lot of questions over whether the pace that we saw from them in practice was going to carry on. It did. The next question, is it going to carry on to race pace?
I don't see why it wouldn't. I mean, they've been consistent FP1, FP2, FP3 qualifying, incredibly difficult conditions in qualifying, and both drivers did a great job. So you'd like to think it's going to be a pretty legitimate pace for kind of where they are. There are some cars out of sorts or a little bit out of position. Max is behind them. You've got Lewis back there. You've got Kimi back there. But they have genuinely been quick.
This car clearly suits this circuit. Why is that, Ruth?
So this car has got a lot of downforce, but it's also got a lot of drag. So when we go somewhere like Spa where there's lots of straights, that trade-off doesn't really work for it. But here, they absolutely does. You know, both of those cars were within basically a tenth of pole, but what I'm interested to see, and what everybody else is, because I've spoken to the teams, is how does that translate to not just race pace, but top speed in the race? Because Fernando Alonso, he has been my driver. I've raced against him. You do not want to be behind this man. Lewis Hamilton learned that in 2021 when he did a fantastic job defending for his teammate Ocon, who went to win the race. You can defend with a slower car here, but if the top speed is too low on the straights, they could be exposed. So no one knows if they're going to open up the gap. They'll be able to hold positions, but drag the rest of the field back, opening up the gaps at the front. Whether you're the leader or the midfield, these two cars are going to be absolutely pivotal for the entire race picture. And of course, their own race as they're looking forward to getting points and jumping Sauber in standings.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's just 1 point in it between them and Haas as well at the moment. So ultimately, this could be a massive opportunity, a massive points haul for them, and suddenly moving towards Williams in the mid-team section.
Yeah, I mean, you can't drop this opportunity. That's the thing, right? With the kind of season that Aston's having, a little bit inconsistent performance, when you have these outlier circuits that really suit the car, you have to execute. You've got to bring home points with both cars, because right now, that lower half of the Constructors' battle, that midfield section there is so close.
Yeah, it really is. Now, Max Verstappen in his 200th Grand Prix for Red Bull will be lining up on P8, but he caught up with Lawrence earlier in the week.
Max, great to see you. I appreciate that where you are right now with the car performance, placing the driver's standings. You've been fighting for the title recently, you're not quite there. How are you feeling about it all?
Well, first of course, you also just have to accept where you're at. Yeah, we are not the quickest at the moment, but we're also not the slowest. I mean, we're still P3 in the championship, so it's not all that bad.
When you're heading into each race weekend, you have to kind of mentally change the way you approach it. Because obviously the last 4 years, you've had a car to fight, and this year, you don't have that consistently.
Yeah, but I mean, I also had many years before that I didn't have a winning car, you know? So it's Formula One and you know that. So it's not a very hard thing to do.
Now, I know Spa wasn't exactly the perfect weekend for you, but it was the first weekend for Laurent in charge. How did that weekend go from your perspective?
Felt good, yeah. Yeah, of course, the weekend didn't work out how we wanted, but overall it was very positive. Yeah, experiences, and I think everyone is very excited, you know, to be working together and of course, yeah, try and find more performance.
I couldn't believe this. You've been at the team for a decade. Like, how do you feel about the future of the team when you know what they can achieve in the last decade?
Yeah, it's been great. Being part of a team for so long, it definitely is like a second family, and also, you know, we have achieved so many, you know, beautiful things, including, of course, winning championships together. So. I didn't even know it was my 200 Grand Prix with the team. So when I started racing in Formula One, I think a target of hitting 200 Grand Prix already is something I think really nice, you know. So to be able to do that with one team is fantastic.
There's obviously been a lot of chatter about your future. You've been in this game a long time now. Do you generally get better at kind of dealing with all that chat around you?
Well, the thing is that there's always other people speaking a lot while I'm not really talking. Because first of all, I don't need to, you know, I don't need to say anything. And I think that's also better for everyone. Instead of just waffling things around, I think it makes no sense anyway. It's a bit of a waste of time. But, you know, for me, I'm very focused on 26 with the team, you know, to look ahead and make sure that we nail the regulations and that we are competitive from the start.
Lovely stuff. So we've made our way down to the back of the grid. We're actually standing at P19, although Alex Albon originally qualified in P20. Yuki Tsunoda, who would have been in this position, is going to be starting from the pit lane. But so unusual to see Alex Albon right at the back here. But let's just quickly reflect on the Max Verstappen and what he was saying, because after qualifying, he basically said, he's going to be in it. He's going to be fighting with Bortoleto. He's going to be fighting with the Astons, but that potentially is all he can do today.
Well, on pure pace, we have to agree with him. You know, it is difficult to overtake here. You need to be over a second faster to make an overtake stick, other than at the start of the race where everything's up for grabs. So I think it's going to be a case of maximizing lap 1 and then seeing if there's anything they can do with strategy. Now, with Yuki not being here, we've seen Red Bull do it effectively before. If he starts from the pit lane, potentially starting on a hard tyre to get some critical data, because strategy is still a question mark. If there's a dice to be rolled, Red Bull and Max will roll it. And of course, it is not 100% chance dry, and very few people bet against Max Verstappen if there's any rain in the air. So it's not over, but I think, you know, the Red Bull team are being sensible and wise with their expectations if it is a dry race.
So the fact that Tsunoda is starting from the pit lane, do you think they will do something different for his strategy? I know they it didn't quite go to plan in Spa, did they? They let him down on the strategy, so I'm sure that's going to be a big focus for them today.
Yeah, speaking to the team, they kind of threw everything, including the kitchen sink, at the setup on Friday. They went 2 different directions with Yuki and Max in FP2. It wouldn't surprise me if they're trying some more setup changes to really understand, you know, actually Formula 1 races are the best data you ever get in Formula 1 at all, because even a free practice session is little over a quarter of a race distance. So they will be learning. Red Bull do not do anything without intent.
And what about the rest of the field? Any insight into what you think the other teams are going to be doing?
Oh, you want the full strategy brief?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, strategy at Hungary lives on an absolute knife edge. It is always the story of a 1 versus a 2 stop. Now, expect most people to start on the medium tyre, because the hard is a little bit slow off the line, and we've just spoken about how important lap 1 is. Obviously, if you're in the pit lane, that is different. So most drivers are going to be thinking, is it a medium hard or a medium hard hard? Some cars, like Sauber's, for example, only have 1 hard, so they're going to be thinking 1 stop, full stop. But others, it's all about whether or not the degradation and the tyre life and the gaps, because that's what you need all 3. You need to be able to make sure the 1 stop works, targeting around lap 30, medium hard. If by lap 15 to 20, the degradation is over about 500ths per lap, you need to be thinking 2 stop, but you also need to find yourself a nice gap, 20 seconds behind you, to slot it in, because you can't undercut anybody if you're stuck in a train.
I love it. Insight there, we have it from Ruth Buscombe, our F1 strategist. It is now time to go to Lawrence, who is in the pit lane with Lando Norris.
Oscar, I was looking at the stats in the last couple of years. If you're P2, you're leading into turn 1. Does that give you a little bit of hope heading into this very difficult to overtake race?
It does give me some hope, yes. I mean, you know, I know very well from last year, so try and do it again, but yeah. Going to be an interesting race, and there'll be some opportunities even if we can't do it, so let's see.
It's a bit cooler now. I can feel the wind a little bit. Is that good or bad for you guys?
I don't think it's either, really. I think, you know, same for everyone. We all know what to expect today, hopefully. So yeah, hopefully we can get a clean start and go from there.
Great stuff. Best luck today.
Good to hear from Oscar Piastri there. Right, now it is time for the big moment. It is James Hinchcliffe's grid walk. Let's go.
And we start back here on row 10, guys. The music is blaring, the crowd is on their feet, everyone excited to get this race going. We'll start P20, Alex Albon. He hasn't started P20 for a Grand Prix since Imola 2022. That's how bad it was. He said before the season, or before the race rather, that this is going to be a difficult track for Williams, doesn't really suit them. Evidently that was true. He said it was tough to drive, not P20 tough, but alas, that's where he'll be starting. Beside him, we have Nico Hülkenberg. Really kind of struggled with the car all weekend. His teammates obviously up there in Q3. Not sure where the pace is, but remember, just 2 races ago, he was up on the podium and he started, where was that again? Carry the 19th. You never know. Here, we have Esteban Ocon. Disappointed with the team's race in Belgium. Thought a poor strategy call robbed him of points. Wanted to come here and correct that, get some points on the board, but just has struggled with the balance of this car. Again, a car whose teammate is up closer to the front, so a little bit surprised as to where that pace is. That's the frustrating thing for drivers and engineers. It's not being slow, it's not knowing why you're slow. Then you see here, Pierre Gasly. Again, just a driver struggling with this resurface here at the Hungaroring. Hasn't had the kind of pace that we wanted. We've seen some really pop performances from Gasly on Saturdays this year. Yesterday, unfortunately, not one of them. out-qualified by Franco Colapinto for just the second time since Colapinto joined this team back at Imola. Here, Kimi Antonelli. It's been a little bit of a confidence-boosting weekend for Antonelli, starting spot notwithstanding. That change in the suspension that we spoke about earlier has given him that confidence back, much closer to George Russell like we saw earlier in the year throughout practice, but made a little mistake in qualifying, and maybe that 2 new tire strategy in Q2 could have given him a better starting spot. Team very confident in the race pace of that machine there. Now we have Franco Colapinto up here, worked so hard with his engineers to bolt down the back of that race car. He really wanted confidence on entry. He wanted to be able to carry the brakes, carry the speed in, and with working with the engineers, he managed to do that. Found a little bit of that 1-lap pace he's been looking for, feeling much better in the team. After speaking to one of their senior engineers, is actually more confident in that car's race pace than its single-lap pace. Here, we've got Carlos Sainz's car here for Williams. We mentioned how Williams not necessarily suited to this track. You want to know how rough it's been for this team here? Last time a Williams was in Q3 at Hungary was back in 2016. So Carlos kind of thinking P13 almost feels like a little bit of a win. They'll do what they can here today. Of course, we move to Lewis Hamilton. So despondent after qualifying, saying I'm useless, saying we should replace the driver. Nobody else in pit lane feels the same way. Everybody knows what Lewis Hamilton is capable of, especially here. No driver is more successful at this track. In fact, no driver is more successful at any track than Lewis Hamilton here at Hungaroring. 4 poles, 8 wins. It is always harder for a driver when you have a bad day and your teammate has a great one. But Lewis Hamilton is the king of comebacks. We even saw it in Belgium a week ago, so keep an eye on the number 44. Now we go to Ollie Bearman, starting in P11. That's been the magic number for Bearman. He's been 11th in the last 4 Grand Prix, the most hated position in Formula One, just outside the points. But he's achieved all those 11ths from further back on the grid. So from 11th, maybe he can actually move up and get into the points. As we go into row 5 here, it's all Racing Bulls. 8th Q3 appearance for Isaac Hadjar. He is looking for a strong day today. Thought he had a P7 lap going in Q3, made a small mistake. Liam Lawson out-qualifying Hadjar for only the 3rd time since he joined the team. And these guys are so enthralled with this battle that they've got in the championship, just a few points outside of that P6. Sauber riding the wave of that great result at Silverstone. You see, of course, Max Verstappen in his 200th Grand Prix for Red Bull. Worst starting spot of the year in 8th. They've thrown everything at this race car. They cannot get it to a place that Max is happy with. It's going to be a struggle for him, but he'll try to mix it up with some of these out-of-place cars in front, like Gabriel Bortoleto. How about the rookie getting it up into Q3? Such an impressive drive for him on a day when a lot of experienced guys were making mistakes as those conditions changed and got more difficult in Q3. He's had points in 2 of the last 3 races. Sauber's on a 5-race point scoring streak. Can they keep it up here today? They're going to have to fight with the Aston Martins, who, as we mentioned, have had a great race. Lance Stroll finishing just 2/100ths of a second off Alonso. Such an impressive performance for the driver that's unfortunately had more Q1 exits than anyone else so far in 2025. And then Alonso, who at this very track, on this very day, 22 years ago, won his very first of what would be 32 Grand Prix wins so far. Looking to do something good here. We see, of course, George Russell now in P4. This one feels like a win for George. That updated suspension giving the drivers something they can fight with. Not sure if the race pace can really contend with the cars up front, but if he can maintain where he's at, strong result for that driver. And now we head up into your top 3. Lando Norris has never been out until this weekend. And from 3rd, he's got a really win. Where is the real impetus going to lie? We know turn 1 can be chaotic here. He's got every shot to be leading this thing by turn 2 as the guys that are starting in front of him. Now let's talk about those guys. Oscar Piastri, defending race winner here at Hungary. Winner last time out at Belgium.
And of course, your championship leader by 16 points. Surprised to not be on pole, I think, yesterday after that difficult situation in qualifying. And if he would manage to take a Grand Prix win today, it would put him at 9 on his career, which would match him with fellow Australian and manager Mark Webber. Bit of a magic number there. And then, of course, your pole sitter, Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. He had the line of the day yesterday. I don't understand Formula One today. He was just as shocked as everyone else. So close were the margins to get this car onto pole, but he knows he's got a very difficult thing that he has to do to try to keep these cars behind him. That said, he knows that these two McLarens are racing for a championship. They have a lot to lose, whereas he can leave it all on the table going for his and Ferrari's very first win of the season. Can he do it? Can he hold these two very quick cars off? We'll find out in 70 laps. But before that, let's head to the front of the grid for the singing of the Hungarian national anthem.
Always a special moment when you hear the national anthem before the start of the Grand Prix. A special moment indeed, because it is the 40th Hungarian Grand Prix, and even more special because we're joined by Zach Brown. How are you, Zach?
I'm very good, ready to go racing.
We're excited. I think there are 8,000 flags going like
It's another Formula One packed house. The investment Hungaroring put in has been really good. Circuit looks fantastic, and hundreds of thousands of fans ready to put on a show.
So talk us through this view that Mr. Norris has ahead of him. Were you expecting that today?
Yeah, I mean, Charles has been fast all weekend. The Ferrari looks good. George is quick, so I like our chances having two cars at the front. We got good race pace, a little bit of strategy optionality, so ready to go.
So, Zach, how do you balance that strategy? Because it's not just a McLaren lockout in the front row. You do have to worry about winning this race, beating that Ferrari. So when you're talking about choosing a preferred strategy, you've got two guys, they're both very close in a driver's championship. How do you default to who gets what?
Yeah, we're gonna go for the win. That's strategy number one, and then we just got to see how things play out. They're free to race. They have been all year, so hopefully we can get them in a position where they can decide who goes for the win. But strategy one is to get a papaya car up front.
It was great to hear how Lando was feeling so confident after qualifying. He's like, yeah, we've got the car. I'm fast. I want to win. It was brilliant.
Yeah, no, they're ready to go. They're excited.
How does it feel coming back to a location where obviously Oscar had his first win under those tricky circumstances?
I missed it last year. I was actually at the IndyCar race watching on TV. I was glad I was watching it on TV. But no, excited for the race, and I think it's going to be a pretty cool race today. There's a lot of strategy optionality, maybe some weather.
Let's talk about that last 12 months. I mean, Oscar getting his first win here, just how much he's grown and how impressed are you with who that driver's become over the last 12 months?
He's done an amazing job. You know, what he's done in the off-season to focus on Friday and qualifying, you know, you can see the impact of that. And the two of them are pushing each other a lot. You can see on Friday, when they were sticking some wheels off, how hard they were trying, so it's getting pretty exciting.
Because of the dominance that you've seen so far this season, and you've got over double the points of Ferrari, so pretty much teams wrapped up. Does that take the pressure off a bit and allow you to let the two drivers go head to head?
We're not going to change kind of our racing principles. Yes, of course, given the gap, if they have a little bit of an interesting race, shouldn't hurt us too much in the constructors, but we want to continue to race the way we've raced from Australia onwards. I think as soon as you start changing things, that's where everyone gets a little confused. So it's kind of business as usual.
Lovely stuff. Zach, always a pleasure to talk to you. I know you've got some important business to see to. We'll catch up with you after the race, hopefully. Well, there we are. Team principal of McLaren, well, CEO, in fact, of McLaren, Zach Brown. Now we're going to go to Lawrence Barretto. He's with Max Verstappen.
Max, I'm not used to seeing you started this far back down the field, but you've won from all sorts of positions. How are you feeling about the race now there's no rain coming?
Yeah, this weekend has been very difficult for us, just struggling for grip, and I don't expect that, of course, to become a lot better now suddenly, but we'll give it a good go, see where we end up.
Have fun out there, thank you.
Well, there we have it. Always good to hear from Max Verstappen. Guys, I feel like something has changed since the start of this show. I can't quite work out what it is. 20% chance of rain now, Ruth. I can feel it. The moisture is in the air.
Well, there's a 20% chance of rain for the entirety of the three race. It is ever present here. Now, just as Zach mentioned there, you cannot guarantee it. You're not going to be building your strategy based upon it. But when we get to that two-stop window around lap 15, if there's anything on the radar whatsoever, it's going to push teams to want to manage and go deep into the race to cover off the one stop. But even if we're in a full race, if we're in a two-stop race, if we're in a one-stop race, if the rain comes here, it comes fast and it dries up fast as well. So everybody's going to be ready for everything. Expect some old school hands out onto the pit wall like Jonathan Wheatley demoed for us yesterday. They're going to be ready for everything.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure when we were doing one of our practice shows, we said 10% chance of rain and then it rained. So I'm not quite sure I believe in those percentage figures sometimes. Right, we're going to go to Lawrence now, who is with Esteban Ocon.
Esteban, interesting conditions, no rain today. You've looked quick at points this weekend. Can you fight into the points on a track that you've won here before?
Everything's possible, before the race. Obviously, we had a better pace in the long run. So we'll see if we can obviously use that pace and hopefully come back to the field. So yeah, we'll give it a hard push.
Best of luck today, thank you.
Lovely stuff, thank you very much. Now we are getting to crunch time, really. This is the moment. The final preparations are being made. What are the mechanics, engineers, what are they doing? Where are the drivers' heads at?
Oh, look, I mean, every driver's got their own little routine. It's hard to get into the zone if you're down on this pit lane or this front straight right now. Just the people, the noise, the energy, the atmosphere. Think about it, these are professional athletes who are about to strap on their helmets and go, hundreds of kilometers an hour into turn one, inches apart from each other. And you've got to put yourself into that headspace in all this noise and all this racket. It's a very difficult moment for drivers, but these guys are used to it. They've been doing it their whole lives, and it's going to be exciting to see what happens when the lights goes out.
I thought I saw a raindrop, but maybe something just flew through the air. Right, let's go to Lawrence in the pit lane.
Ollie, you're making a bit of a habit of finishing P11. Do you reckon you can do a bit better than that and get a point tonight? Sorry to tease you.
Yeah, no, it's been a few races where I've been starting in that position, or finishing in that position. But I have high hopes for today. I think the car is quick. I just about missed out on getting through into Q3, but the car definitely had it in it. So hopefully we can have a good one today.
Have the best time out there, thanks.
Lovely stuff. Thank you very much. Now, this is obviously a track that fights back. There's so much jeopardy here. What is going on in these last few moments? I mean, with the changing conditions as well, how much can they change strategy at this, at this point?
Well, up to 8 minutes to go, you can change your starting tire. Right behind me, you'll see they've already fitted them on there. At 5 minutes to go, no one can touch the car again. So strategists right now are going through their lap one plans, what they've already ready. The mechanics are going to be ready to run all the way back here, back to the garages, just in case they have a puncture on lap one. And of course, checking the radar. We've had it before with a formation lap here. Lewis Hamilton was the only car to take the start. Let's see if anything like that crazy happens again.
And from the driver's perspective, you're looking at turn one, you're looking at turn two. Both of those corners have a history of throwing up some contacts, some incidents, drivers going off. And then, of course, drivers dropping wheels at turn 12. We saw that being a huge issue throughout practice and qualifying. You just have to survive lap one, and then everything changes.
So very final prediction, the last moment. Ruth, who are you going for?
Oscar, Lando, Charles.
Lando, Oscar, Charles.
There we have it. We have our race predictions here in Hungary. Thank you so much for joining us live on the grid. That is a wrap of our pre-race show. We are now moments away from the 40th start of the 40th Hungarian Grand Prix. The atmosphere is absolutely palpable here. But all eyes are going to be on the start to see if the surprise pole sitter of Charles Leclerc can hold off the McLarens. Can the Astons hold up their position, or will Max Verstappen work his way forward? Let's find out.
This is the Hungaroring, described by many as Monaco without the walls. A staple on the F1 calendar since 1986, and a circuit that has provided magical moments from every generation.
Who just won the Hungarian Grand Prix?
One of the great moves. That was elbows out. Senna's brilliance. Titles won in record time. Alonso becoming the chaser.
Oh, they're nearly making contact.
A favourite venue for first-time Grand Prix victories. For this is no ordinary race. This is the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Pasti abang mantengin. Siapa malah kirimin?
Iya kak, kameranya tak matiin. Apa ini? Iya. Tak tahu. Lah handphonemu nggak bisa kak? Gila yo apa lo? Nah kemarin gimana ceritanya habis sampai yang keluar malah mati? Gak tahu bang.
Incredible underdog stories and the upending of the expected order time and time again. For the 40th time in the Formula One World Championship, good afternoon and welcome to the Hungarian Grand Prix, which will be fought around this circuit. 4.3 kilometers, 2.7 miles, 70 laps on the board, and 2 DRS zones to promote the overtaking. Turn one is the best bet, but we've seen some epic moves around the outside.
Ini
bawaan. Leading to turn 3 through the years. It's the soft and medium and the hard available for the pack today. It is the C5, the C4 and the C3, with some genuinely not knowing how long their tires are going.
Enggak kan dia eman gitu loh. Masuk mati sih. Ditinggal sehari tok mati.
2025, 16 points between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. Here's how they line up then. We'll go from the back to the front, with Yuki Tsunoda due to start in the pit lane. He's taken a new power unit. Alexander Albon says they've just been lost to strategy all weekend long, and the setup of the car has struggled as a result. Hulkenberg is 18th, Esteban Ocon, former winner here, is 17th on the grid. Pierre Gasly is finding himself in 16th. Antonelli much happier with the balance of the car compared to 1 week ago, but not the easiest grid position for him. Franco Colapinto is the lead Alpine on a Formula One grid for the second time. Williams really struggling. Carlos Sainz is 13th. Lewis Hamilton, the headline outside of the top 10, because it's his worst qualifying on merit ever around here. Bevan is 11th, and then it is an all racing ball, row 5 to row 4, which features Max Verstappen He's getting his 200th start for Red Bull today. Gabriel Bortoleto, that's his best ever Formula 1 qualifying in his rookie season. It was the best qualifying of the season for Aston Martin, their fifth, Alonso the lead car. And then we find George Russell, who was 500ths of a second back. Norris was 400ths of a second back. They're third and fourth, and this is the front row with Oscar Piastri challenging Charles Leclerc, a surprise Ferrari pole, their first of the season. Charles Leclerc's 27th in his Formula 1 career. It is a storied venue and the stage is set. Can Charles win the Drivers' Championship at bay and win his first Grand Prix of the season? In the commentary box, I'm Alex Jakes, and looking forward to this one is Jolyon Palmer.
Very much so. This is a recipe for a fantastic race, isn't it? Charles Leclerc on pole position, snuck it from underneath McLaren's nose in the dying throes of Q3. Had looked quick, but hadn't looked that quick through the weekend. Delivered when it counted, and that is now his reward. A clean view down towards turn one. Piastri started second last year. He led at the end of the first lap and won the race. His title rival Lando Norris starts third, and those two McLarens will look at each other as much as they'll be hoping to beat Charles Leclerc for the win.
Interestingly, earlier on, Charles Leclerc, before he got in the car, talking about which side pole position was on. If you get a good launch, you can get to the apex first at turn one. It has decided things plenty of times here.
The last 2 years have seen the man starting second overtake the pole man at the first corner. So that is what Charles will be aware of. Most of the time the drivers are looking through historic starts, seeing where collisions are likely to come from, seeing how previous starts have been won and lost. And the last 2 years, it was Oscar Piastri, then it was Max Verstappen, who launched past Lando Norris or Lewis Hamilton in previous seasons. So Leclerc will know that, but he is...
Yeah.
This is the clean side, that's why pole is on the outside, and theoretically, there is still an advantage in that.
That is the look from the brand new grandstand here. We've got a brand new pit building, a brand new main grandstand on the straight, and what a sight for all those who have made their way in. 8,000 seats watching on. It is time. Green light on the gantry. For the first time in a Grand Prix this year, Charles Leclerc leads the field away. The McLaren drivers and Charles Leclerc agree one thing. The McLaren is the fastest car. How much faster is going to be crucial, and whether we will get split strategy between the two drivers is key. But the first task, Jolyon, is they've got to get past it.
Yeah, they have. There's certainly going to be some pace in these McLarens over the longer run. However, the temperature has dropped considerably today. 21 degrees air temperature. The track temperature is the lowest it's been all weekend, which does sometimes negate McLaren's biggest advantage, which is looking after those rear tyres over the longer run. That plays into Leclerc's hands, as is the fact he's got a slightly trimmed out Ferrari, so his straight line speed is significantly up on what McLaren have. Of course, if they're still behind him at the end of lap one, they will eventually get DRS on the subsequent laps and have a chance to have that top speed. But Ferrari, like they were last time out, frustrating Max Verstappen in the Belgian Grand Prix, are well positioned to frustrate everyone in the field with that setup.
Further back, George Russell was hoping the temperature stayed low. The Mercedes works well in those conditions. Aston Martin are having their most competitive weekend of the season so far, having been at the very back in Belgium just a week ago.
Medium tyres for all of the top 11 on the grid, but there is the full array in place for the start here. Lewis Hamilton in 12th starts on the hard. He will go long, as will Pierre Gasly. And there are a few drivers on the soft further back as well, both Williams and Nico Hülkenberg. Strategy very much up in the air. The race start is going to be so critical here. It's a short lap. They're already coming through the final corner. Leclerc bunching up the pack, getting these mediums, getting that rear grip in, and then holding his nerve for the braking zone. It's quite a long run down to the first corner.
300,000 have made their way in across the course of the weekend. A strange quirk that the top three on the grid all have 8 career wins in Formula 1. The battle to get to 9 first is on, but the McLaren drivers go racing with the World Championship picture in mind as well. Lewis Hamilton on that hard tyre will be going long for that first stint and hoping the race conditions come back to him. He has the record for race wins around here with 8. Yuki Tsunoda will peel into the pit lane in a few moments' time to leave us with 19 on the grid. He took a power unit change, having had another difficult qualifying. The track temperature is 32 degrees. The air temperature is at 21. For the first time this year, Charles Leclerc is on P1 when he started on the front row. He is the lowest driver in the championship without a victory so far. It is nearly time for the 14th Grand Prix of the season. Green flag at the back. It is time to look to the lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights in Budapest. And the Hungarian Grand Prix is underway. Even reaction time. Lando Norris has got to run. P3 man has got to run on his championship rival. Charles Leclerc is trying to break the toe. Norris won't go for it to the inside. Might be compromised. George Russell is up to third. Can he keep it? Yes, he can keep it. He gets the power down and he gets by. Worst case scenario for Lando Norris. Might be about to get even worse as well. Lando Norris has got Fernando Alonso going to the inside. Can Alonso make it even worse? He's challenging George Russell. Tyre warm-up is going to be crucial here. And Norris dips down. He's down to 5th. Piastri in second, Charles Leclerc leads.
It initially looked like Lando had the best of the starts and went immediately attacking to the inside. I wonder if he lifted off or missed an upshift because suddenly had no momentum, just gobbled up by Russell and Alonso.
I wonder if we're getting different tyre warm-up here because they were scattered all over the road. The momentum was good for Norris off the line. He had nowhere to go, and Charles Leclerc says, fight amongst yourselves. He has a lead of 1.1 seconds in the Ferrari. Russell went up a place. Norris went up a place. Down 2 goes Lando Norris in the McLaren, and Bortoleto got past Stroll. That's the highest he has run in a meaningful lap. That is a risky old move for Isaac Hadjar, and he backed out of it, brushing the gravel through turn 12.
Yeah, Behrman's passed him up into the top 10. Verstappen's had a difficult weekend and has lost a position to Liam Lawson as well, so he's only just ahead in 9th place as the leaders come round and finish lap 1, with George Russell sitting right in behind Oscar Piastri as well. So Leclerc has done the first and most important part of his Grand Prix work in keeping that lead. It was a good start, good traction, covered off the inside where he had to as well, and now he can set about this, what should be quite a long first stint.
Earth happened to Charles Leclerc in the final corners of the lap. Mid part of the lap, he was finding himself with a 1.1 second lead. In the background there, Hulkenberg trying to go around the outside of Alex Albon. And I just wonder whether he was able to make that move. They were side by side as they went through. Checking in, no, he's still behind. The green car is close. So Max Verstappen's trying to line up Liam Lawson. Junior team versus senior team. And that won't take long for Verstappen to get by. He's trying to improve back up to 8th.
Former teammates this year, and Lawson surely isn't going to like that. No. Max incisive, straight up the inside, and feeling a lot more confidence than Liam in these early laps.
Different races. If you're wondering what the 4-time world champion is doing down in 8th position, he has really struggled with the balance of his record across the course of the weekend so far. It's the worst starting position of the season 2 laps ago.
DRS is enabled, and now Norris has to try and clear Alonso as quickly as possible. At the moment, McLaren's race has been simplified. Piastri is in contention for the race win. Norris isn't, down in 5th with that poor opening lap. He is tucked in behind Fernando Alonso. There he goes. He's going to be really close.
Okay, he's got the DRS. This is crucial for Lando Norris. It doesn't look like it's going to be a contest. He needed that. He's got it up to P4 for the man second in the points battle to win the Drivers' Championship.
Aston Martin really overachieved yesterday in qualifying.
Fantastic
job. Alonso even made more of that on the first lap. Down to 5th place, and his race really commences with Bortoleto just behind him and Verstappen looming behind those guys as well. So he will now probably disappear back, and Norris will have to go and attack George Russell, who looks pretty comfortable in these early laps. Of course, he'll be very happy that the temperature has dropped more than anyone in the field, George Russell.
Absolutely. So Verstappen recovering the position is the latest development inside the top 10. We've also had Lando Norris recover, but look at that, late on the brakes. You don't get many moves into the chicane. Max Verstappen has 2 in 2 laps. Bold stuff.
He means business, doesn't he? He means business. They're all tucked in a queue now behind Fernando Alonso, and that one was a little better there than even the previous lap for Max, who's obviously found that his car's working nicely through turns 4 and 5, as everyone else is just managing maybe in these early laps in the middle sector, where in theory is not easy, maybe not even possible to overtake, but certainly Max is bucking that trend as he continues his prowl through the field.
He's not had much to smile about this weekend, but he would have adored that moment. Getting past Liam Lawson the lap before, you'd expect that. Senior team up against junior team, but then roaring past Lance Stroll, and now he's chasing Gabriel Bortoleto. And Verstappen chasing Bortoleto tells you what a good weekend the Brazilian driver is having.
Bortoleto right on the tail of Alonso, who is dropping back from Norris, as you'd expect, and bunching the rest of the field up. Here comes Max.
Well, he's got grip that the others don't have at the moment, doesn't have the room. Bortoleto doesn't want to be done around the outside, and he won't be, not this time.
Yeah, these two are good mates off the track as well, Bortoleto and Verstappen, but we're now coming up to the corner where Verstappen has been making his moves through turn 5, and then we'll find the tight chicane at turns 6 and 7.
It has turned into a much faster track than when Formula 1 was here 40 years ago, where it was glacial pace around the high curbs. Verstappen trying to get by.
Let's get through these ASAP.
Like it's easy around here.
Well, I do like it, the racing around this circuit, because there are a few places where you can pull off these quirky moves. The chicane is one of the lesser spotted in Formula 1, but you see it a few times in the junior series. That turn 2 move is a nice chance as well that Max tried, but Bortoleto was all over, knowing that one was coming, because then you get the inside for turn 3.
Bortoleto has been noted moving before the signal, so his glorious weekend may have a penalty to come, and we're going to see a chance for him now up against the man who's part of his management team. Alonso checks the left-hand mirror. Bortoleto doesn't have the momentum at the moment. Left-hand side of your picture, Lewis Hamilton, who's actually lost a couple of places, was so downbeat yesterday after his worst ever qualifying on merit. There's a wide moment for Kimi Antonelli in front of him, but he's recovered to the racetrack, and this battle remains in the same formation.
Well, Bortoleto's got the DRS to attack Alonso, but also defend from Verstappen, so this will be frustrating Max, who's now having to run at Fernando Alonso's pace, which is a second slower than the cars just ahead of him, and a second and a half slower than the race leader.
Back to the start of the race. Oscar Piastri on the left-hand side, Charles Leclerc in the red Ferrari ahead, and a great start for Norris, just didn't go anywhere.
No, so they're weaving around, and then Lando brakes so early for the first corner as well. Russell and Alonso with a straighter line down the outside were already coming across both McLarens. Piastri still had the inside. Norris just very cautious on the brakes. They didn't want to do the Valtteri Bottas move from a few years ago and go 10-pin bowling down there. It's easy if you miss the braking point to just swipe a few cars out, and this should be quite a good view with Fernando to see how he managed to get past that McLaren ahead.
So you can see Lando Norris has the momentum. That's going to disappear right now. George Russell's going to improve. He's challenging second place at this point.
So it opens up for them because the McLarens are watching each other so much. Lando immediately darting in the mirrors of Oscar. They're papaya. You can't miss it in your mirrors, in your peripheral vision. And so they start going outside, inside, inside again even more. And that opens up the opportunity for Russell to come around the outside and Alonso.
So this is Hülkenberg, who's just come into the pits, and he too, both Saubers, have been noted for moving before the lights went out.
I must say I missed that on that replay. Maybe it was from earlier on.
It'd be extraordinary if it was both cars from one team. This is Alex Albon, who started at the back on the grid. Yuki Tsunoda started in the pit lane. He's now up to 16th position. Getting on the power early, coming out of turn 3.
We're not going to have a move. Here we go, Bortoleto. No, so that looks fine. I think it's from earlier on, potentially, for Gabriel Bortoleto. With the fourth light on, you cannot move. And if you do that, you are seen as making a jump start. He was stationary. That looked okay from that part, but maybe it's from earlier on.
That's a good point. There are different stages of which you can still be pinged. We've seen even parking and lining up in the wrong position has been pinged with a 5-second penalty in the past. It's lap 6 of 70, round 14.
Mate, my hand is... I took all the gravel. Copy. The gravel, man.
Remember, Roman Grosjean got hit in the finger by some gravel at the Nürburgring. The cool temperatures will not be helping things as well. And Hadjar reporting on the radio that he's been struck by gravel being kicked up. A lot of it's being kicked up this weekend at turn 12.
Yeah, and you got a big, short but punchy traction zone coming out of turn 12 as well. So any gravel there will just get skipped orders. You get a bit of wheel spin over it as well. And Hadjar running right in the thick of things in 11th place, having lost that position to Ollie Behrman at the start.
Ollie Behrman.
Got a bit of turning going on as well, so your hands, your knuckles will go over the front of the bulkhead there for the drivers. So that's why Hadjar might have taken a bit of a sting, but he carries up a lot of turning going on as well, so you don't want to have sore hands.
Go back to something that Fernando Alonso said on the drivers' parade. He said, beyond lap 15, we have no idea in these temperatures what the tyres are going to do. And I think that's why we've got a static picture at the moment. There's a gap at the moment of 2.8
kokoh banget
seconds
ke
between
dalam
Charles
mobilnya.
Leclerc and Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris trying to dip into DRS range.
Fastest lap of the race for Norris on the last, 4/10 quicker than George Russell. So that is now the closest group in the top 5.
And it'll be fascinating to see what Piastri's true pace, because he's sitting back from
DRS.
dirty air, isn't he, at 2.7 seconds at that point, as Piastri goes over the line with the fastest lap of the race so far.
No further investigation for the full stop for Gabriel Bortoleto as well. So that is great news for this man, who's still having his best start to a Grand Prix so far, sitting in 6th place betwixt some champions. Great work for a rookie driver in a Sauber.
Well, he will be delighted to be racing Fernando Alonso and Max Verstappen for serious positions as well. His personal best in Formula One is P8, and he achieved that a couple of races ago at the Austrian Grand Prix in the points. Last time out in Belgium as well, and Sauber trying to extend their scoring streak all the way to 6 rounds in a row, something they have not been used to in recent years. Norris is now within the 1 second window.
But he's got to stay there for the end of the lap, and this is where you're picking up the dirty air now through the faster sweeping corners. Turn 11 through the right-hander. We're going to get there with Max Verstappen, but you can already see the field spread. The leaders into the final sector. Verstappen now coming through. This is turn 11, the quicker right.
567.
Oscar, some competitors are talking about a one-stop. Do you think one stop may be possible?
Gak mungkin one stop.
I feel okay for now. Man, it's difficult to know with this many laps to go.
Yeah, understood.
Tough question, isn't it? 9 laps into the Grand Prix. Certainly with the temperatures dropping, I think that one stop could be powerful on a circuit where it's not traditionally easy to overtake on. As proven by Alonso, still dropping away from the top 4, having a nice drive still in 5th, but the pace isn't there for Fernando, and it has been all weekend. He's now a second and a half slower than Norris ahead, who is still within DRS range.
Mixed news for the Sauber pair. Bortoleto, no further investigation, and Hulkenberg is under investigation, but that's the way round they would have wanted that news. Hulkenberg is currently last, but look at that. Hulkenberg on the new mediums is so much faster than Alonso in P5 right now.
Yeah, so he's actually matching pace with the leaders, Hulkenberg. Pitted after 5 laps to go onto a new set of mediums. So it's going to be the gravel here. So Behrman's off. Clatter. You can see it on the left hand. Yeah, he's taken his hand off there. So that is exactly it. Left hand up, you're turning a right-hand corner, and clout. Big bit of gravel there that hits Isaac Hadjar.
And Norris has got the gap down to 0.7 of a second. He is still fighting in this one. And they are thinking about tyre longevity, the McLaren pair, at the moment. This is a tight battle. Further back, Alonso, Bortoleto and Verstappen. Confirmation of that 5-second time penalty for Hulkenberg for the false start.
Norris is closest than he's been so far behind George Russell. They're heading down towards turn 1. I don't think it's going to be close enough for a move, but it's another fastest lap for Lando, who is now starting to set about putting pressure on the man that jumped him for 3rd place earlier on.
Norris gets it down to half a second. We'll be joining that battle soon enough if he can keep whittling away the advantage. Bortoleto comfortably within the DRS as well. Alonso knows that if he's going to claim 5th position, he's going to have to make those tyres last a long way. We are visor cam with the man chasing 3rd place.
This is an important move for Lando to pull off, because then it's just his teammate, the championship leader, and the race leader ahead. And Russell, Mercedes haven't had the durability on the tyres so far this season. The temperatures are cooler. It certainly is playing towards George today, and he's running at the similar pace to the race leaders. Lando's just the fastest driver on the circuit for the last 5 laps as he gets over the curb at turn 9, trying to just straighten off that exit and give the rear tyres an easier time. And as they come over the brow out of turn 11, he's closer again, trying to just distract George Russell in the mirrors.
Okay, context of the season so far, the McLaren is the class of the field. McLaren have 3 back-to-back 1-2 finishes with their drivers. George Russell, conversely, says he's not had confidence in the car since Canada when he won it.
What's going on with these cuts?
Power issue? Energy deployment issue for Charles Leclerc, because that would be what he's referring to on the radio.
More likely deployment, I think.
Racing line
solid out front. Piastri took a couple of tenths off him on the last lap. 2.8 seconds is a comfortable enough margin for Ferrari.
Okay, 2 things at stake here. Not only the track position, but the state of the tyres. Piastri is managing that gap, we believe, at the moment, waiting for the opportunity. An in-lap and an out-lap, trying to do the opposite of what Ferrari do today.
Kelihatan dikit gak?
ready to get past Russell.
Kan. Disuruh nyalip Russell.
But not only for track position, but for the state of the tyres and going long into this Grand Prix, it's vital that Norris, if he can make the move, makes it sooner rather than later.
Russell lost half a second to Piastri on the last lap, and that's the danger for Norris, that he's going to lose touch with the race leaders if he can't clear this Mercedes. He'll still have a great shot to clear Russell in the pit stop phase. The McLaren is surely a better race car today, but that'll then leave him with a podium maximum rather than a chance at taking a race win or beating his teammates for second place. So it's important that Norris doesn't lose touch with those top two that just disappear out of shot.
Russell is really sliding around in key traction zones, multiple corners across the lap. He's moving around way more than McLaren behind, but this is the clear overtaking opportunity, and you can see McLaren is closing up nowhere near close enough, but Russell's good in the final sector.
The traction zone, so he's sliding around, he's using tyre to make sure that he stays ahead of Norris in those final turns. McLaren's closing up through the middle sector, but it's so difficult to make the pass there unless you're Max Verstappen going punchy in the early laps. You're not going to do that on George Russell. Mercedes that's got a little bit more nous about him as well to keep
dia nggak bener-bener ngikutin gini loh, nggak bener-bener ngikutin gini. Dia kadang di sini, kadang di sini, kadang di sini. Makanya kena ini tertiar.
So Norris has seen the gap go
kalau
up
bener-bener
5
depan
seconds to
belakang
6 seconds
bisa.
of the race lead. This is why Hülkenberg was pinged with a 5-second penalty for a false start. Watch the lights on the left.
Okay, Nico, we have a 5-second time penalty for moving before the start signal. 5-second time penalty.
Really? I'm not aware of that. Did anything from my side?
So you could see the markings on the tyre. He was millimetre by millimetre moving forward, but you're not allowed to be exactly stationary. And it's a tough one for Hülkenberg, who maybe just needed his foot on the brakes. It's slightly downhill, even from the back of the grid there. He was just rolling, or there was just a minuscule little bit of clutch slip as he was finding a bite point right at the end of it. But tough one, because you won't really feel that inertia from the cockpit. You won't see it either. So it's tough one for Hülkenberg, who's actually still driving around.
0,9 kan Norris kan.
He's quicker than Norris and Russell at the moment at the back of the field. No one's covered him off because he pitted crazy early on 5 laps. But when they do pit, we're going to see Hülkenberg do one of those stealth moves up towards the top 10.
Shows you the advantage of going to the new rubber faster, but then you take the pain of it degrading later in the race. That's what they've got to weigh up the balance between getting access to that grippy Pirelli rubber early.
So he's done this so many times. We mentioned it already.
Aceh udah restock hari ini, Bun.
The Belgian Grand Prix managed to go from a Q1 exit up into the top 10.
Aman. Udah nambah juga tadi.
Twice that day. But the amount of time Silverstone was the key example where he got a podium. But Sauber are having to go more and more extreme to do this, to make sure that no one covers him off. So they've gone lap 5, having started on the soft. And he is going to jump. He's almost catching the back of Yuki Tsunoda.
Itu 1,1 loh lihat Norris.
He's a second and a half
Aneh
quicker per
banget.
lap than Tsunoda off the back of the field.
Ya ngapain?
And Tsunoda's running with everyone else. So he's going to be up towards sort of 6th, 7th position.
Yeah, right now.
Leclerc tiba-tiba 2,9, 2,8 sama Piastri.
Lose 21 seconds on
McLarennya
average.
kah?
Hit lost time when you come in to change all
McLarennya
4
lagi jelek
tyres.
kah?
You are looking at the battle for 5th position in the Grand Prix, currently occupied by Fernando Alonso, who won his first Grand Prix here in 2003. He is 44 years young, the oldest driver to compete.
Ya kalau mau donasi di sebelah sini, guys. Nah, ada QR code.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Amazing. The age records he's breaking.
Nanti traktornya muncul di tengah-tengah sini.
Incredible, winding back the clock and still driving to such a high level as well, Fernando. Ahead of Lance Stroll routinely in qualifying. It was as close as it's ever been, really, yesterday. But managed to get ahead of his teammate, and that's been critical to launch him.
3 detik.
5th position, which became 4th, and still now is 5th with Norris sweeping by and dropping in by 11 seconds. You know what? Hülkenberg, I think, is going to be ahead of Alonso when everyone pits. He's going to be then on very tired tyres. So they're going to be It's going to have to
Nggak
be
mungkin dong
defensive.
Ferrari
It's going to
tiba-tiba
be
kenceng.
surely into a two-stop, but I quite like it from Sauber just to go really out of sync.
Nice tactical play as well, if you consider that Bortoleto is looking for anyone to get in the way of Alonso and try and score his best result in Formula One, which Bortoleto's doing at the moment if he remains in sixth position. But we've seen this year with it being ultra competitive in the midfield. If you can maximise that and take your chance, how many times do you see Max Verstappen down in seventh place? Huge opportunity for both Aston
Balapan
Martin
yang
and
susah
Sauber.
overtake-nya, walaupun temboknya di pinggir, temboknya jauh.
Is opening charge just
Overtake-nya cuma di tikungan 1,
in the Alonso
tikungan
train.
4.
Lando Norris has been on the radio saying he's now starting to struggle with the tyres, and that is evident from the fact he's just dropped away from the DRS range of Russell. He's on the cusp there at 1 second. But maybe following George for so many laps has just meant he's been hurting those rears.
That's Ocon back into the fast lane. That's Albon back into the fast lane. They reverted the specification of the Williams back to his original setup in FP1. He says it's the only time he's enjoyed driving the car around this circuit. He was telling us on Thursday that he expected it to be the second.
Walah, tadi tuh ngecas dulu kayaknya. Ngecas baterai si Norris.
Williams, who sit fifth in the constructors'
Tiba-tiba
championship,
0,8 lagi.
started today on 70 points, but both drivers have struggled across the weekend. So this is the point where the team will be back in contact with the drivers to try and ascertain where the tyre degradation is. Left-hand side, right-hand side on the way down to turn 1 tells a story. Tyre management is going to be crucial. We are running in temperatures that they would not have predicted before the Grand Prix. 31 degrees track temperature, that we've seen it in the 50s here routinely.
It's as cold as I remember without it being a really wet day in Budapest.
Iya, salah satu race yang paling membosankan setelah Monaco.
So there is a lot of learnings going on the fly. And I think Fernando Alonso has just resigned himself to not battle with the top 4 today. He's just actually done his personal best lap of the race. So he's
langsung pakai hard pasti.
leading his battle in 5th place. He is not interested in racing with the guys ahead. He's just going to try and hold on to 5th and hope that something comes towards him for anything as a bonus later on. But he's kept the tyres in by driving pretty slowly. Out front, the laps are consistent enough still at the moment, so everyone will keep extending. And Lando Norris here, who's getting frustrated behind George Russell, can't take a pit stop because he's just going to fall straight into traffic around Behrman and Hadjar.
And Lando, we still think the wide line in turn 2 is better.
Yeah, my problem is not turn 2, it's the last 3 corners.
Because that leads to the key overtaking point on the circuit. This is turn 14. We've rotated our way by. That is Charles Leclerc, the race leader, trying to win his 9th career Grand Prix today. Oscar Piastri keeping him in vision, 2.6 seconds away. And once again, Lando Norris cannot get close to even shape for the move, to even try and scare George Russell off the road.
And Russell's driving well. He's still lapping at a sensible pace as well. Was fractionally quicker than the top 2 on the last lap. So he's not dropping away. So we see Leclerc and then Piastri. And are we going to get George Russell? There he is in the back of shot with Lando Norris still right with him. And here we go then, McLaren buckling up, telling Oscar to go and hunt down the race leader.
Fascinated to see what sort of pace Piastri can unleash now. They were waiting to lap 15, assessing where they are. The chatter on the radio right now is that the degradation of these Pirelli tyres is as expected. So the team can now rely on their data, and it means that we're going to see the true pace out there. We know that Norris has been pushing. We're now going to see what Piastri's got in response, trying to deny Ferrari their first Grand Prix victory of the season. And an update for you, Lewis Hamilton is in 13th position at the moment. He's 0.6 of a second away from the man who took his seat in Mercedes, Kimi Antonelli. His old F2 sparring partner, Isaac Hadjar. At the back, we've got Hulkenberg, the lead of the cars that have stopped, but he stopped first, so we've got the new tyre very early on. Sainz, Albon, Ocon and Colapinto have all come in very early, trying to force the hands of their rivals and get that benefit of the new grip.
Leclerc's doing a great job out front. Piastri was quicker on the last lap with the hurry up, but only by 1/10 and a half. Leclerc needs to keep that gap at around 2 seconds to have the buffer that they need, Ferrari, to try and keep this lead around the pit stop window. Verstappen then is in, frustrated for so long, sitting behind Bortoleto.
Ini Verstappen.
Max Verstappen trying to rescue
Verstappen
the
pit
weekend.
stop, jadi hard. Baru 2,2, 2,3.
Hoping to jump past Bortoleto and Alonso with this moment, and he will come out Going past him,
Will
Hulkenberg, who
come
went
out.
to the new rubber first.
By a massive margin. Hulkenberg's just been knocking out the laps, and he is going to be a good 5 seconds plus clear of Max Verstappen.
Piastri lagi kenceng kayaknya.
And Lando, we're thinking plan A -5, plan A
Plan A
-5.
-5.
Yeah, confirm. My tires are gone.
So the window we expected, if
Oh,
you were
maunya
going to go for a
golong
two-stopper,
mereka.
was anything after lap 16.
Maunya golong mereka,
It's not
tapi
the ideal place to stop.
masuk.
And in comes Oscar Piastri.
Oscar Piastri masuk.
Now heaping the pressure on Ferrari out front.
Box to overtake Leclerc. Box to overtake Leclerc.
Undercut.
Big call from McLaren.
Moga
Big
gak bisa
in-lap
ya Allah.
required for Oscar
Amin.
Piastri. Huge pressure on the shoulders of the pit
Nyangkut.
crew.
Punchy
Aduh,
start, but
bagus
it's a
banget lagi.
brilliant stop.
2,1
He's
itu.
barely stopped stationary at all there. Piastri, who'll rejoin the circuit. 2.5 seconds back. Leclerc now has to give it full beans on whatever he's got left on these medium tyres, and Piastri now will give it all on the fresh hards.
So you've got to bring these tyres in, otherwise you're going to damage them for the stint that you've got ahead. But ultimately, track position is absolutely everything around this circuit. And this could be a huge swing in points for the World Championship. If Oscar Piastri can win this Grand Prix today, the win is on the line right now.
Yeah, so McLaren have obviously thought he couldn't get closer than the 2 seconds away from Charles Leclerc. So that's it. They've given all they've got from the cockpit. Now it's time for the crew to put the pressure on the Ferrari crew, who will be limbering up with a race win on the line as Charles Leclerc comes through the penultimate corner this time around and will have to cover off Oscar Piastri.
Unsurprisingly, Leclerc is in this lap. Huge. This is the biggest pressure pit stop for Ferrari all season long. The live gap between Leclerc and Piastri is 22 seconds. They need a rapid stop here. They need something in the 2-second margin. And Ferrari this year have the fastest pit stop, exactly 2 seconds. Over to them. The Grand Prix's biggest trophy is on the line.
Stops on the marks.
Okay,
it's
nice.
clean from Ferrari. And McLaren's coming in just behind.
It was 22 seconds when he built the pit stop, and they've matched it when they needed to.
That's exceptional. Sorry, the Mercedes coming in. It's George Russell there. Exceptional from Leclerc.
Turn one, and he's covered him. He's covered him. Ferrari under pressure.
Let's go.
And Charles Leclerc with the lockup. He's going to have to bring these tyres into the temperature window. George Russell rejoins as well.
Nice.
Feeling the heat then. He's going to be feeling that because these hard
Wah,
tyres have
menarik
got to
ini.
come up. And it does take a little bit of time.
Menarik
Piastri
ini.
set the fastest second and third sector of the race on his outlap, but he was only 4 tenths quicker than Leclerc's in-lap in the middle part. It wasn't enough, particularly with an outstanding pit stop under pressure.
Leclerc may struggle on the outlap with warm-up.
The tyres come out of the blankets at a lower temperature than they need to operate on the circuit. So you
Bisa.
can have a slow
Bisa
first
ada
lap,
Leclerc.
and that's the encouragement
Bisa
being
Leclerc.
given to Oscar Piastri, but he's missed a golden opportunity with McLaren.
1,4.
Well, that was his best
1,5.
chance. His next best chance
10,
is right now
10,
on this first lap as Leclerc's bringing it up.
Ini apa?
This is Hulkenberg,
Hulkenberg.
and he's going past Yuki Tsunoda.
Gacor.
Making the move into the first turn.
Ini,
This is exiting
Leclerc.
the pit lane for Charles Leclerc, who retained the net lead of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, little front right lockup, which his hard tyres won't thank him for, but I don't think it's too bad, that one for Charles. And here we go then. The
Oh,
net race
bisa. Itu
leaders
langsung
are sitting in
1,2.
third and fourth. That's Fernando
wes,
Alonso
selesai,
ahead of
bro.
Leclerc. And Leclerc would love to clear him as soon as possible and put one slower car between himself
Selesai bro,
and Oscar
asal gak
Piastri.
hujan.
Alonso usually leaves
FD
everyone to
car
their
udah
own race and
selesai.
doesn't waste any time fighting for positions that he doesn't need to. He's done exactly that. Charles Leclerc improves to second on the road, but Ferrari, under the most pressure they have been all season, come up with the joint fastest pit stop of the entire Formula One pit lane in 2025.
Well, they've been doing it routinely though, haven't they? They have got these very, very fast, clean pit stops in their locker. And I think McLaren, they locked and loaded that one too soon. From 2.5 seconds back, they needed a mistake from Ferrari, and that was absolutely not coming there. The strategy, good. The pit stop, immaculate. And Leclerc has covered off Piastri. And that is the second part of a Grand Prix win done then. He kept the lead at the start. He's kept it through the first pit stop phase.
The sun coming out and the track temperature going up, which it can vary very, very quickly in this part of the world with the tarmac that they have here, could change things. That's George Russell roaring past Gabriel Bortoleto, and Russell taking the position he would have expected to. Bortoleto still yet to stop.
And Piastri will be the next car
Tahan
line
Alonso,
up.
pinter banget Alonso.
Surely looking towards a one-stopper if he keeps going at this, having nursed those tyres in the early laps. Piastri will cruise past him on the straight here and then hair after Charles Leclerc again.
So Piastri will hope that the deeper you go into the race, the more the Ferrari will struggle. McLaren have been so good at tyre life so far in this campaign. They're trying to win their 200th Grand Prix today. A team based in Woking in the UK. And in comes Antonelli. Hamilton is now up to
Hamilton nggak jadi pit stop
dia. Heard him say the tyres are gone. He's been sitting behind George Russell for countless laps.
Lambat.
Antonelli comes in and gets a tidy.
Lambat Antonelli 3,2.
How far can Norris go on this medium tyre?
3,2.
Can he get himself towards an easy one stop, pitting for a hard in 5-10 laps time? Can he keep the lead until then? How much slower will he be than Leclerc and Piastri, having taken the new hard tyre? They've got to go different to Russell now.
On board, left-hand side of your picture is Verstappen, who is all over the back with grippy hard tyres compared to Hülkenberg, who has been on that rubber for 16 laps. He parked so soon, and that's the move being completed. Hülkenberg over the chicane, and Verstappen gets by.
Yep, Verstappen in his favourite spot today, up the inside of the chicane. So Hülkenberg, having had a majestic stint on that the medium tyre that he pitted for, now feeling the pain of it. He's going to be flying high by the time the others pit, but he is now taking the pain of being on that tyre for a good chunk of this race. Already 16 laps, having made a pit stop. The first one was so crazy early.
Yeah, by design, and he's still got that 5-second penalty hanging over him for the false start. The moment that the lights extinguished, moving just before they had extinguished to begin the 14th Grand Prix of the season, the 40th all-time in the World Championship, held around the circuit. They spent a lot of money renovating the facilities this year.
So this is either Plan A, look to extend, or Plan D, just keep talking to us about the tyres.
Oke. Kayaknya bakal extend mereka.
Plan A to extend is going to have the offset for a two-stopper here for Norris, and that's what he's working on, the offset to try and pass Russell again, who's just done the fastest lap on his new hard tyres. Same strategy, same race at the moment. Russell's having compared to Piastri and Leclerc ahead of him. Norris has the chance to do something different and is taking that opportunity, continuing around for another lap. And what's his pace like? Consistent, but not super quick. Giving a second a lap now to those that are pitted.
On board with Lewis Hamilton, 8-time Grand Prix winner around this circuit. It's a straight fight between Hamilton and Hadjar, and they have yet to stop both of them. This is going to be Hülkenberg. Go over the chicane. There you go. But after Verstappen got 3 in the Grand Prix at the chicane, you never see that.
Gitu caranya.
It was about to happen, but that's because no one expects it to keep happening.
Kalau chicken berarti dapetin apex pertama, terus yang kedua buang aja lawannya.
Nice opportunistic pass.
George Russell currently has the fastest lap of the race. Going to be another overtake this time for Max Verstappen in a few moments' time, as soon as he can make it about the traction. Gasly will be out of the way because his tyres are very, very old, 23 laps, and there you go, roaring around the outside, the long way round, and the outside line becomes the inside line, becomes 12th position.
Yeah, Gasly trying to fight it on the hard tyre, going long, hasn't pitted, wants to try and do a one-stop. Verstappen will most likely have to stop again in this race as well, so Pierre, that's the state of play this weekend, chancing his arm against the Red Bull.
Guys, it's really terrible, this idea. It's so much traffic.
Remember, he's trying to undercut Bortoleto and Alonso. That's why Red Bull pitted him. Verstappen was frustrated in behind Gabriel Bortoleto in that first stint.
Malah
7th place,
dia di belakang orang-orang.
So now they've pitted him into what they hoped would be clear air, but Gasly hasn't pitted, nor have a few others just in front of him to try and catch up. So yeah, he's not actually going any quicker than
George Russell making his way
lawan Alonso.
Close proximity to the Aston Martin ahead.
Kena front wingnya kena. Front wingnya kena ya. Front wingnya kena ya.
Yet to pit. Russell trying to reclaim the place, and that was closer than it needed to be. Two drivers with separate races going on, and Russell nearly damaging the front of the car.
He does pick his battles, doesn't he, Alonso? No fight, no chance really to fight against Leclerc or Piastri, but suddenly sees a Mercedes up behind and fancies this one on his old medium tyres. That was very, very close out of turn 1.
Russell might have expected the gap to appear.
Oh,
They did not.
aman.
These two get on well outside of the white lines of the racetrack, but not that time.
Do you think a one stop will work?
Difficult, Oscar.
Norris will one stop in this race. I think he's gone for plan D. He continues again for another lap, and the times are consistent, if unspectacular. Let's have another look. Back from Fernando Alonso. Goes wide at turn 1, but then has decent traction straight lining it. We're going to get a touch. There it is. There it is. That's, well, it's unnecessary really for Russell to be trying to nudge his way to the inside when there was no gap there.
No contest. Yeah, no contest this time. They say rubbing is racing, but that could have ripped off the front wing and destroyed George Russell's chances of fighting for major points today.
Yeah, I don't actually really know how much Fernando was fighting it the previous lap. I think George was trying to pick a fight with someone that really wasn't that bothered, but caught himself out more than anything. Looks like his car is intact though, and finally gets the position. Just lost a good second and a half to the others there.
And Max Verstappen has caught Lewis Hamilton. The two of them making contact at the first turn a year ago. Verstappen not happy with the strategy last year, not happy with the strategy this year, and he's got Hamilton, Hadjar and Behrman ahead of him on the racetrack. If Alonso and Bortoleto pitted now, they had clean stops, they would emerge in a great position to still be ahead of Verstappen.
Yeah, this is not going to help Max either. He's going to have to get creative here. We come to his favourite spot.
Bit of a sit back behind these guys.
So Hamilton not happy to be following. It's all as a result of that difficult qualifying session. Fred Vasseur has a new Ferrari contract extension, team principal of Ferrari 4, and that was announced this weekend for the next couple of years. And he said the team just did not execute Q2 well. It left both cars vulnerable in the session, and they lost Hamilton. Charles Leclerc got through to the top 10 shootout and then surprised even himself by taking part.
Let's stop here.
He's trying to get creative on his lines through the final couple of corners. Get a bit of clean air over the nose of the Red Bull. Hamilton's going to have DRS from those cars ahead, so this is going to be a frustrating moment for Verstappen, who's got potential pace in the car, but he's not able to use it. It's a 124.5 running around at Ollie Behrman's pace, who hasn't pitted on a shod medium, and there's no way through at the moment for Max. It's nearly 2 seconds down on Bortoleto on the last lap.
Frustration for the four-time world champion, who said earlier in the weekend he doesn't expect to win another Grand Prix the rest of the season. What a contrast to the man who's rattled off 4 world championships in a row, including a year in 2023 where he reset the win record for a single season.
I can feel what we discussed before the race. We need to discuss those things before doing those.
So Charles Leclerc attempting to code the message there, but I wonder if he is not happy with the balance, because the gap's come down between him and Piastri to 1.7 seconds now.
Yeah, there's a lot of code in there that it's difficult to decipher.
Do you want to
the things that we discussed, we should talk more about those things.
He was very punchy yesterday in saying what he wanted, wasn't he? He was like, I want to run at this stage of the session. That's what I want. No discussion. Calling the shots.
Norris.
So Lando, we're considering the one stop. It would be 40 laps on a hard tyre. Keen for it? Yeah, why not?
40 lap.
For it now, and that means he's going to pit in a couple of laps.
Berarti 2 lap lagi
very
di
uncoded
Lando
message
pit stop.
there from Will Joseph. Little look further ahead from this angle there as Isaac Hadjar still stuck behind Ollie Behrman, who he lost the place to on the first lap. So my hypothesis for 2 options for Charles Leclerc. Number 1 is, as you say, a balance change from a medium to a hard tyre. How much front wing do they want to add? Possibly more than that. He's now looking at Lando ahead, and he's thinking, we should have discussed the possibility of going for a one-stop here.
We are going to lose this race with this thing. We are losing so much time.
Okay. We are losing so much time
at the moment, and the race, he's in a McLaren sandwich as it stands.
And quite possibly, it's the 2 of them combined for that message there, because he's got Piastri still under control. Oscar is applying more pressure in this stint than he did in the first stint, but Lando is going different here, and he's still circulating at a consistent pace. Charles is 1 second per lap quicker, so the gap is coming down now. It's 5 seconds, but very soon Norris will pit and have fresh hard tyres, which should comfortably go to the end of the race. We think Leclerc and Piastri will have to pit again because their hard tyres won't. They've already done 10 laps on them, so Norris is in this.
Okay, Lando, we're going to try it. So let's eke out a couple of laps. When the lap time drops, we're coming in. If Leclerc catches us, we're coming in. He's 5.6 behind. At this pace, Leclerc catches us in 3 laps.
Okay, Lando Norris being told the state of play. Further back in the field, you're looking at Hülkenberg trying to attack Pierre Gasly. You're looking at Max Verstappen trying to get past Lewis Hamilton. And in the battle for the net race lead, you're looking at the battery deployment on the right-hand side of your picture. Leclerc, Piastri, and Max Verstappen's got the inside line. My word, that is a fast corner to try that move. Hamilton goes off the road. Verstappen gains the place, and that could have been even more spectacular than it was.
I had to take 2 on which corner they were approaching there. I couldn't believe someone would dangle a nose on the inside of turn 4. Hamilton with a big slide coming out of turn 7 on his hard tyres. Is he unscathed there? Let's have another look at it.
This is enormous speed. Max Verstappen risking it to the inside. That is crazy close for a corner of that speed.
Yeah, it's not really a move that's ever on there from Max. Just desperation creeping in there, never alongside Lewis. It's not a big braking zone at all. And Hamilton just had to drive off the road to avoid a massive crash.
Verstappen getting by, up to 11th place. Hamilton down to 12th position. Oscar Piastri hit the buffer of 1.5, 1.6 seconds. But Charles Leclerc animated enough to advertise that to the rest of the world on the radio. You know, if you say we're going to lose this race on the radio, you know it's going to be played out to everyone watching, including the teams on the pit wall.
It's still not completely clear in which direction he's thinking. McLaren have now got a 2-pronged attack. Norris still leads, fighting the rear of the car coming through turn 13, using everything now out of this rear tyre as he continues for another lap. So we're into a less than 40-lap stint now for Norris when he pits for a hard. This is going to be a run to the end of the race, and there was your pole sitter and previous race leader coming through behind him, still taking bits of time. That was 1.2 seconds on the last lap, so McLaren have got to be thinking about pitting Lando soon, but they want to now clear Fernando Alonso, who is 20 seconds behind. They don't want to lose any time when they pit for the hard tyre. All of the runners in this race should be expected to pit one more time, and Norris leads.
Pirelli say the hard tyre is good for 32 laps. That's what they like before it becomes not ideal to be running on a
not
but the medium's done 32 laps. We're at half distance almost. The medium's done this. The hards will go to the end. Norris will be able to run a one-stopper here, but I don't think Leclerc and Piastri will be able to, or they'll be hanging on to it by the end if they are.
Another one. It is up against a
di
racing
tempat
ball.
yang sama.
And you can see Max Verstappen getting past again there. 4th time today. He's overtaken at the chicane. He gets past Hadjar, and Behrman has pitted. He was at the head of that queue.
So that now releases Verstappen back into the race that he wants to be in. Look at Lando sliding now, just slithering on the remnants of his medium tyres into the pits. It's a tight right-hander there. And he's giving it all, everything on his rears coming in, stops it down to the pit limiter and has to put together a good stop.
Lighting it up as he comes in, he hits his marks. Every second is going to be useful here. Brilliant standard in the pit lane today between McLaren and Ferrari. George Russell goes through, he's having a
Emang sengaja gak
race.
sih Norris nahan Leclerc biar Piastri bisa deket Leclerc? Mungkin. Tapi masalahnya Norris itu tadi gak nahan Leclerc sama sekali. Dia bener-bener lari di depan gitu loh. Justru kayaknya Norris ini mau perang strategi sama Leclerc biar Norris bisa di depan setidaknya, entah itu P2 atau P1 gitu. Kalau misalnya gitu Leclerc kepancing kan, Leclerc kepancing ambil 1 kali pit stop lagi sama Piastri, ya wes itu karena mereka 3 detik jauh coy. Kalau memperlambat juga nggak mungkin. Kalau misal selisihmu 1 detik, 1,5, 1,6 sama mobil belakang memperlambat, iya bisa. Tapi ini 3 detik.
You can see the
3 detik
Ferrari
sudah bersih
recovering
banget
energy.
itunya.
That's the flashing red light as they make their way through. A little bit of oversteer tells you
Berarti
how
airnya udah
much
bersih.
Oscar Piastri is fighting that car to try and stay within 1.4 seconds of the race leader.
So this threat is difficult for Ferrari to deal with.
Itu, jadi Norris ini mau undercut 4 orang di atasnya. Russell, Piastri, Leclerc.
As Lando made a pit stop, but he was down in 5th on the first lap. But by going for the different strategy
Gak tahu
and
yang
having
mana.
the pace to get there,
Moga bagus
brought
hasilnya.
himself into contention. The second thing is now Piastri is plumb in undercut range for Leclerc this time around. 2.5 seconds on the first stint wasn't close enough. 1.5 surely is.
Atau
So do Ferrari
malah si Norris
a McLaren second stop?
itu dibikin
If they do, they're going to
buat
open the door for Oscar to go long and potentially try and execute
nahan
an
Leclerc
audacious
biar
one-stop
Piastri masuk.
himself,
Iya bener katamu.
or have a tyre advantage later on.
Bukan, jadi nahan. Jadi misal Leclerc udah masuk, terus kebetulan Norris di depannya, ya wes ditahan-tahan. Mungkin nanti gitu.
And all Charles Leclerc can do is find the fastest time around the circuit. And he has been in the box seat to win this Grand Prix, but McLaren having strategic options was always going to give them an option with both cars. And the fact that Norris got jumped and shuffled back in the pack earlier on basically made their mind up for them.
Tapi jarak Leclerc ke Norris aman-aman aja dari 1,6, 1,5.
Place is a fair chunk away from George Russell, who took the pit stop at the same time as Piastri. So George has used the new tyre pace to extend a nice 9-second cushion over Lando, but that should be reeled in quickly now as Norris picks up his own
Apa itu
pace.
kok gitu?
And this is just a tricky one to manage. Leclerc loves the audacious one-stopper. As a driver, that's what he wants to do, naturally. Remember Monza last year? He won it as the McLarens both went straight towards a two-stop, and he just stayed out, and snaffled the win from underneath their noses, much to the delight of the crowd on that day. And even this year, there have been times where, I know he's been talking about a one-stop, and it's not even a thing that people are suggesting
semua
up and down the
tergantung
field, but Charles always thinking, can we cut out that pit stop?
Piastri
So I do
hasilnya
wonder if
jelek
that's
banget
what he's now
1,8.
that Norris has done.
It could go all the way to the end. In fact, that was
1,9.
the prediction of Oscar Piastri. He says it might be a bit of a slow burner, but he said it was going to be exciting come the end of the Grand Prix. He will hope that's for him to find a way past the Ferrari on the two-stop strategy. In comes Isaac Hadjar, 2.2 second stop for the man originally.
Antonelli di kiri asik tuh. Asik tuh Antonelli tuh.
Formula 1 season, and he finds himself rejoining the racetrack ahead of the Alpine of Pierre Gasly.
The gap just goes up towards 2 seconds there between the race leaders, so now Leclerc needs to get back into the mindset of giving himself a little bit of a buffer for when McLaren might pull the trigger for an undercut with Piastri once again. It's such a difficult one to balance across the board here. Mercedes happy with what Russell's doing. Remember, they're still looking for a podium, having had a rough run of results since George got his win in Montreal as well. So they'd love something to take away from this one, a much better weekend.
Okay.
But they're going to have company very soon. Norris, fastest lap of the race, 6/10 quicker than George Russell ahead.
It's okay.
Just a reminder that the drivers are told, perfect scenario, you have a couple of laps to bring the hard tyres in. You don't go flat out immediately, specifically with that compound of tyre. They are told and they are warned about getting the best out of the performance.
How's the tyre, Oscar? Do you think you could get to the end on another hard from here?
If I pit again, yes.
Oh, Oscar aja bilang kalau pit lagi iya.
So,
itu.
obviously a two-stop for Piastri first
pasti
of all.
3 orang Leclerc, Piastri, Russell itu
The
bakal pit stop
response.
lagi.
So he's obviously thinking, if I don't pit again, I can't. It's too early for a one-stopper for Piastri, who was the first of those front runners to pit, which initiated the round of pit stops. Norris will be able to go to the end. That's good information for the other side of the garage as well. Rivals, but still teammates beneath it.
And the turn 4 incident between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton is under investigation, is the message from the stewards. If Piastri is going to go to that, he's going to want a big offset because he would lose track
Gitu ya
position
bisa.
to Lando Norris. Norris, who
Itu
is
juga
going
bisa
to
kalau
close
sakit-sakit
down
masian.
the Mercedes of George Russell.
Bentar.
And Russell showed it was very difficult to pass earlier on. Expect to see that graphic again and again and again. It's another fastest lap for Lando Norris. Confirmation that that investigation is underway between Verstappen and Hamilton. Amazing speed into turn 4. And yeah, they're having a look at whether that was fair on the racetrack.
Yeah, I suspect Max's day might be about to get a little bit more painful with that investigation, that very ambitious move. And that's going to give an even better chance then to Alonso and Bortoleto, who was still out there on a medium time, more than half distance. Stroll and Lawson going with them, all having a good day, certainly going for the one-stopper.
Alonso wasn't sure if that was possible at the start of the Grand Prix, but he's built the gap really nicely. Bortoleto still being ahead of Stroll is going to be so encouraging for the Brazilian driver, who was a standout performer in Formula 2 last year on his way to the title, including going from the very back to the front in Monza. An incredible drive. Last to first challenge completed by Gabriel Bortoleto at Monza last year.
Tuh, tiba-tiba 2,1.
He also had
last to first.
Last to first.
That is something else.
Spun off in the gravel in qualifying, one of his ropier days in his first season of Formula 2, and then came past them all.
Was there a nicely timed safety car?
There was, and then he knew that people would talk about the nicely timed safety car, and he got a massive gap. He won it by over 10 seconds.
Make sure there's a nice sprinkling on the top of it.
A real standout drive from Gabriel Bortoleto. One of the reasons that he was promoted to Formula 1. Lance Stroll had his best qualifying of the season yesterday. He's trying to return to the points once again. It's the closest he's been to Fernando Alonso on the timing page since he out-qualified him at Silverstone last year. He's going to come out into the pack. And he does not want to be behind that Williams. And if he positions it nicely, he won't be closer than Alex Albon would have wanted on the apex. But that was crucial for Stroll.
These are still really good lap times, George. Just keep banging them in.
Let me drive.
Just limit it.
George Russell doesn't want the reassurance of Marcus Dudley. He's race engineer. He wants to try and keep that time where it is at the moment. It's equal to what Oscar Piastri is doing last time around. It's actually just gone over the line. He's lost a bit of time. He's 3/10 back on what Piastri was able to do, but he had been setting lap times as quick as the race leader.
What's happened to Norris then on his hard tyres? This is going to be a little gravel run showing how hard he's pushing. Quite a lot of a gravel run there for Norris, running wide at turn 12. It's lower speed. We've seen drivers get away with that all weekend, and I'd expect the same for Lando then.
Lando, just keep the focus. Don't want those mistakes.
All right, former Formula 1 driver Jolyon Palmer, how's the driver going to take that radio message?
Well, I would take it miserably. You've just run through the gravel, you're pushing. It's exactly the same as Spa for him. He's now pushing really hard, lap on lap. And we did see the mistakes in Belgium. But you then got your race engineer looking at it and saying, don't make mistakes. He's not trying to make mistakes, he's trying to push though. And it's really difficult to find that balance of reeling in the race leaders, trying to bring yourself back into contention. But occasionally you do just have these moments of taking a curve, running wide slightly, maybe a little bit more than he would have liked in Belgium. I'm sure he wouldn't have liked that moment in the gravel. But they do have this relationship of kind of coach and mentor.
More so than anyone else in the pit lane that we hear, I think it is.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, usually me and DC would sit back at this point and start talking about, I would not like that. No, I wouldn't like that either. But Lando seems to like the words of wisdom that he gets from Will Joseph.
DC wasn't on his summer holes, would have had to turn his mic off there. I don't think we'd have.
Fernando Alonso back in 2003. Mr. Lando's done 6 laps apart. Would you prioritise undercutting Leclerc or
being able to broadcast his response to a radio message like that? To give you an idea, if you're one of our newer viewers, Lando Norris in the past, Will Joseph has coached him brilliantly to a first ever podium with direct instructions like that in Austria a long time ago now, but also ahead of crucial Q3 laps where he's reassured him he's had the pace. Last week's Grand Prix by 3 minor moments that meant Norris could not get back to the tail of his teammate.
So I think this race is working out okay for Norris at the moment. I think he's right in contention here. He is a second a lap quicker than everyone ahead of him. That includes George Russell, and the gap is now less than 5 seconds. McLaren will have to pit Piastri again. Ferrari will have to pit Leclerc again. Their tyres are dropping away. They are half a second and 7/10 away from their personal best. So that time is not going to be far away. Then they're going to emerge behind Norris, and that will be a straight fight for the win to come over the next 30 laps.
Mr. Lando's done 6 laps of hard. Would you prioritise undercutting Leclerc or tie Delta to Lando?
Do you still think beating Lando is realistic than doing that?
So,
It's doom and gloom, isn't it? Norris has been on the right strategy here. I think the one stop is going to work out. Alonso, Bortoleto, the midfielders are playing out in that way as well. Norris does another fastest lap. He's 1.7 seconds quicker than Russell on the last lap. He's flying. He's got to keep life in these hard tyres as well, because that's how his race is going to unravel if we get to lap 65 and he's got nothing left with Leclerc and Piastri putting the pressure on. It's in the balance, but that's an interesting question for Piastri. There's broadcast right now. Who do you want to beat, Leclerc or Norris?
Into the pits comes Fernando Alonso. Going to revisit that in a second. Into the pits comes Fernando Alonso, making his first stop of the day. And he will come out ahead of Lewis Hamilton. That's a great stint for Fernando Alonso. That has gone really nicely for the driver who had to sit out of FP1. But he's competed for the rest of the weekend. I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to.
First to overtake this lap, box to overtake Leclerc.
The last time we heard that, the gap was 2.5 seconds. This time, it's 1.4, and he does the opposite of the man coming into the pits, who is Charles Leclerc in the Scarlet Ferrari.
So Ferrari react. They take the bait from McLaren. Is it going to be as good a stop? It certainly is. That is a well-oiled machine now down in the garage for Ferrari. Leclerc goes off, and now Piastri has a bit of space.
Unbelievable stuff from Ferrari and McLaren today. They're daring themselves to 1.9 seconds. 2-second stop, and all the pressure goes back onto those wearing papaya.
Hats off. You think of where this team has come from. I know the pace of the car hasn't been what Leclerc or Hamilton would have wanted this year, but the rest of it has been good. The strategy and the pit stops are nailed on in crucial pressure moments. That was another blinder of a stop from the Ferrari crew. So what does Piastri do now? He has to extend this.
Okay, you get some clear air. There's 6 seconds clear air to Gasly. Let's use the pace, and this gives you what you wanted with Lando.
In comes Gabriel Bortoleto, and he rejoins. And let's see whether he can get out ahead of his teammate. That's nicely judged. And let's see whether Bortoleto can find himself out ahead of Stroll. And it looks like they've played the team tactics perfectly there. Now Hülkenberg is past. Stroll did not have the chance to undercut Bortoleto, who's got the fresher tyres.
It's worked out really nicely for Sauber. Hülkenberg just delaying the advancing Stroll from the undercut. And Sauber locked in now to go to the end of the race in a really brilliant position for Bortoleto. Stroll still doing well as well. The one stopper is going to be the order of the day today. So Leclerc's got 6.8 seconds to catch Norris now. Norris's tyres are 10 laps old. That's going to be an offset. That's going to handy to have for Leclerc. But it's so in the balance of what I'd rather. And we know the McLaren is a quick car. He's now in behind George Russell. Piastri will have to pit again and will have the fastest car of them all at the end of the race. They're going to Concertina up. It's been a slow burn this race, but my word, we're going to have an entertaining final stint.
Flag first at the end of lap 70. Charles Leclerc will be hoping that Norris can't just steam past George Russell.
Let's go.
For at least one lap at restricted pace.
Okay, Max. So Bortoleto and Lawson have now pitted. We are considering leaving you out here.
Okay, well, it's not going to be easy.
No, I know, we're monitoring it. It might be our best opportunity, but like I say, we are monitoring it.
Oh alah, jadi udah di Verstappen katanya bilang si GP bilang gini, di Bortoleto sama si ini udah pit, jadi yaudah kita lepas kamu di sini, maksudnya sembarang lah kamu mau butuh apa gitu.
And we're not going to know until right at the end because it's going to be decided on track late.
Norris needs to clear Russell in this stint. Oh, Hülkenberg coming out of the pits on mediums that will also need to be brought up to temperature. Norris can't pass Russell in that first stint, and now Russell is happy to go on. He's happy to play along. He's going to be, at the moment, 4th in a 4-car fight. Alonso has backed the entire rest of the pack up into obscurity from the top 4 fight. So Russell's shooting at nothing here to just try and keep Norris behind and have fun out there. See if he can get his elbows out, keep all of these guys at bay for as long as possible, and this will help Leclerc to charge up to the back of Norris.
Lando Norris all over the curb at turn 7, second part of the chicane. This wonderfully flowing racetrack, getting faster and faster as they run their way
Back to
Hamilton
turn 11, awesome speed through here. They're burning off the fuel as they go as well. Left-hand side of your picture, Lewis Hamilton in for his stop. He's gone all the way to lap 43.
If Norris wants to win the race, he has to make the move. No, he doesn't have to make the move. Mercedes will pit Russell out of the way.
Just one lap at restricted pace. Just one lap. Lando Norris had to wait behind the Mercedes. A huge moment in the destiny of the largest trophy today, and who wins the Hungarian Grand Prix.
And Ferrari will be cursing Mercedes at the moment, but of course they're rivals in their own Constructors' Championship battle as well. Fighting for second in the championship. Mercedes don't owe Ferrari any favours, but they certainly haven't given Leclerc one there. 6.5 seconds now, the gap Norris to Leclerc. Piastri stays out and is still running a decent pace out front. Will surely still have to make a pit stop and then drop to third and be on a charge in the final stint.
It's all in the balance at the Hungarian Grand Prix of 2025. The penalty has been served for Hulkenberg. He did that at the last stop, and you saw him emerge with George Russell and Lando Norris. And McLaren are waiting. It has been an exhibition in the pit lane, but Piastri knows that he needs what we've seen so far. Rapid stops of around 2 seconds to give him the chance. Piastri leading by 9 seconds. Lando Norris in a brilliant position, ironically, because of where he found himself in the early stint of this Grand Prix. And we'll get a clear picture this time around as well, where Norris's pace is in comparison to Charles Leclerc.
Itu tadi Ferrari-nya Hamilton tuh yang kelihatan tadi di Norris di Piastri. Leclerc lagi dan lagi nih pasti. Pasti 6,6 coy. Di sirkuit yang seperti ini double podium sih minimal. Kalau di McLaren pinter masukin Piastrinya double podium mereka 1-3. Norris Leclerc Piastri. Kalau pinter, kalau enggak yo Norris Leclerc langsung.
Norris doing the same as well. And have Ferrari been outfoxed here?
They've got to do something special to get back into this. Behind Norris, with a chunk of time, fresher tyres, but they've got to make an overtake on a circuit where overtaking has not been easy. And we've also just watched Lando be stuck behind George for one lap, but it didn't look like he was about to clear Russell necessarily easily.
Oscar, Leclerc is going to be 4 or 5 seconds ahead of our pit window. We suggest to box this lap, to push and box this lap.
I don't really care about Leclerc. I just want the best chance to try and beat Lando. So that's an important thing at the moment.
Whoa, that's late on the brakes of Kimi Antonelli, and he gets past Carlos Sainz. Very late braking move. That's P10 right now.
Dive bomb gitu. Carlos Sainz.
Kimi Antonelli putting an old school move on Carlos Sainz and then holding him off in turn 2 as well.
Piastri box.
Piastri comes in. Downbeat on the radio, frustrated that Lando Norris has been let back into the race by the nature of the other side of the garage. McLaren are one team, but they have two drivers in the hunt to become the 35th champion of the world in Formula One. And so now Oscar Piastri doesn't care about the Ferrari, he cares about Lando Norris. He leaves the pits and the gap is 12 seconds between the top two in the World Championship.
Well, he's going to have to care about the Ferrari because the Ferrari is in between himself and his title rival. And Oscar's not done a lot wrong in this race. The strategy has gone towards Lando, and Lando's had the pace and the composure to put this together with a really long first stint. As Piastri was racing Leclerc, Lando was racing no one, and now here he is. We join him 24 laps away in the lead of the race, but on the oldest tyres of the front four now.
Fans McLaren tinggal berdoa Norris sama Piastri nggak melakukan sesuatu yang konyol. Karena tiba-tiba racing lainnya jelek mereka itu. Lucu aja gitu lihatnya. Udah dapat mobil bagus. Racing lainnya kacau. Kamu buat apa?
Alex Albon, his old rival, is the next blue flags recipient coming up just ahead of him. And now these things are crucial, especially on this sort of circuit. 4.8 kilometers, but once you come through turn 3 and you have a little stretch of acceleration,
berhasil one pit
and it's very difficult for drivers to get out of the way of others now. So they're going to be sitting in the dirty air of back markers until they come back round to the final sector. It can cost
Karena
them a lot of time.
si Ferrari ternyata kepancing Piastri. Piastri kan bisa duluan terus langsung Leclerc, iya, elek pula ininya.
Even have the pace of the McLaren. We haven't seen a direct
Nah,
comparison.
tadi sampai mana? Ya, si Leclerc tiba-tiba pit stop setelah Piastri masuk gitu. Jadi kataku umpannya McLaren berhasil. Tapi apakah mau dibikin 1-2? Norris Piastri Leclerc? Gak tahu juga. Gak mungkin kataku. 7 detik tiba-tiba melambatkan Leclerc. Gak bisa sih. Keren sih strateginya.
And Norris has been faster in the last 3 laps. We've been watching the gap all the way through, just monitoring whether the traffic was affecting Leclerc. That was a like-for-like comparison with the track completely clear for both. And the McLaren is faster. Advantage Lando.
Let me tell you, Leclerc will be stewing if he doesn't win this one. I do think that earlier radio message was we should have been looking to do a one-stop, which he's always pushing for. A little oversteer in towards turn 6. He's really having to push now. These tyres will comfortably go to the end, but potentially Norris's will as well. Ferrari
7,5 makin lebar dah. Bisa ditinggal bubuk ini guys.
And consistency right now. This guy is heading towards a crucial race win. There's still a fair way to go. 22 laps. The tyres were starting to fall away on Leclerc and Piastri's cars, so it's not easy for Lando to get this to the end. He's going to have to coax and find the balance between pace and consistency and looking after those tyres. It's far from done, but Leclerc's job has got so much harder when he had done everything he needed to do from the cockpit.
It could have been that Ferrari were in trouble either way today because of the
Piastri merapat sih, 2,9 sekarang. Tapi kan ada blue flag itu yang PR banget. Banyak ada kolab itu, Hülkenberg, Tsunoda, belum ada yang DNF. Banyak.
This one's going all the way to the end if Piastri has something to say about it.
Yeah, Piastri's going to be desperate. He wants to fight with Norris, but he at least wants to minimize the loss to Norris today.
Guys, this car is broken. I got no grip at all.
Well, yeah, you have significant rear damage. You have about 1% more aero balance than planned.
Great.
They cannot get Max Verstappen to the end of the Grand Prix. He was being yielded in by Fernando Alonso.
Verstappen dikasih pit stop. Verstappen dikasih pit stop, guys. Oh, nge-lag. Hello.
And Gabriel Bortoleto, both of whom go by.
Yeah, so that is the classic 2-stop as well for Max. He's going to be investigated after the race for that incident with Lewis as well.
Dikasih stop ya? Oh, enggak, deng, masih jauh.
Antonelli will be really, hopefully can keep that Mercedes at bay and then at least use the pace of the Red Bull for a little bit of clear air to go and catch those that he's already passed. Interesting one to investigate after the race.
Ambil fast lap-nya udah nambah-nambahin. Apa namanya?
It means both of them will be summoned to the stewards after the Grand Prix with their team representatives. Usually the sporting directors accompany the drivers to a hearing with the stewards.
Discord juga ternyata.
Dramatic moment, high-speed corner.
Makanya suaranya kok kedobel di headset.
70 miles per hour before you take that left-hander. Verstappen moves his way past. This is Lewis Hamilton further back in the pack. And he's going up to 14th position past Pierre Gasly in the Alpine.
And remember, what has made Leclerc's race much harder is being the only Ferrari in the fight today. Hamilton was so disappointed with his efforts yesterday. Tries to scrabble around the outside of Tsunoda after his early stop and decent cameo. Nice slow-mo shots of him running wide, but that was an ambitious attempt around the outside of Tsunoda, who he's already passed today.
That's Tsunoda getting out of the way of Leclerc and Oscar Piastri, who has reeled him in at ease.
There's going to be a lot of traffic to go through. We're going to have to look after the front left.
Makin dekat, guys.
Piastri's on fire here. He's streaming up to the back of the Ferrari. Same question that we had with Lando Norris a few moments ago. Can he get by? And how quickly can he get by? It's a great run here. He's got so much more grip out of the 14th and final corner. The Australian driver trying to dive past Charles Leclerc, who hugs the inside line, and Piastri will just try and turn it into a grip battle. He's got more of it. He's got more speed. He absolutely sails by. It's going to be another McLaren 1-2. The Ferrari couldn't fight. And now, who is going to stand on the top step of the podium? Will it be Norris? Will it be Piastri? Top two in the World Championship about to fight it out for victory in Budapest.
Yeah, I don't care about Leclerc. I care about beating Lando. Well, now he has dispatched Charles Leclerc. Charles quite early on the brakes there for turn one, but Oscar completely committed around the outside and just has so much pace now in the McLaren. So worst case for Norris, he had Leclerc, I think, covered off. The Ferrari's not quick enough at this stage. But Piastri now, on the fresher tyres, has just a good amount of tyre life advantage over Norris, and that gap now will get whittled down. 8.3 seconds. The race is now in the balance.
Oliver Behrman has retired from the Grand Prix. Behrman does not have a Grand Prix point-scoring finish. That's back in Bahrain, the fourth round of the championship. He did get a couple of points in the sprint last time around. Left-hand side of your picture, Lewis Hamilton going past Carlos Sainz and claiming the position. He's up to P12, 8.2 seconds. The gap between the two McLarens and Charles Leclerc. After seeing Piastri go by like that, must just take a breath. Maybe they're just out of reach today. He was in the fight.
Udah diduga, udah menduga.
But that McLaren is something else. They're on for their fourth one.
McLaren memang rocket ship di
Leclerc had
sini.
a shocking lap on the last lap, so I wonder if he's made a mistake somewhere, and that is what's put him right back into the clutches of Oscar Piastri suddenly. His pace on the medium, on the hard tyres in the middle wasn't bad, but he's been
Oren kenceng banget. Ferrari dikasih traffic dikit aja, 0,3 loh tadi. Dari 0,3 kayak gimana itu?
Very much game on again.
Okay, game on for the Grand Prix victory.
Aneh
What a
banget.
performance from Gabriel
Lihat anda,
Bortoleto, master of
7,5 bro.
on the racetrack. Once again, like they were in Austria, when they were close to each other on the last
Ferrari
lap.
dengan setel pabriknya.
Fighting so
Iya.
hard to try and get within
Padahal
the
pit stop sudah bagus ya kan.
just keeping him out of it. Lap
Sudah
after lap.
bagus, ininya bagus. Cuman yang salah, Leclerc kepancing. Udah, gitu aja. Tandanya nggak kepancing masih bisa battle sama Norris. Bro, 7,2, 7 detik. 7 detik. 6,9. Setanan Piastri.
Piastri
Lihat
is
kan
flying. He is 1.5 seconds quicker than Norris on the last lap.
Lando Norris is going through an absolute sea of
Ya
traffic
sudah
at the
lah ya.
moment. He's got past Pierre Gasly. Esteban Ocon is the next car.
Piastri will find that as well. He's got Albon, Gasly, and then Ocon. So he will find the same traffic, and where you catch that traffic makes such a big difference. I wonder if that's what caught Leclerc out.
Tergantung traffic sih. Kalau trafficnya bersih dan
This is so
bisa
incredibly frustrating. We've lost all competitiveness. If they start to listen to me, I would have found a different way of managing those issues. It's undrivable. Undrivable. It's a miracle if we finish on the podium.
How far does that radio message go? All the way up the screen.
Yeah, so it's not to do with the strategy, it's to do with the setup of the car then.
And Russell, second lap faster.
It was a miracle.
On the last lap of the circuit.
Ini udah keajaiban ini kita masuk podium kata Leclerc gitu. Makanya kalian harus dengerin aku dari tadi gitu.
Fading for Ferrari.
I'm trying to think what Ferrari
Ya seperti itulah kira-kira ya.
changing right now from
Ferrari.
It's basically front wing angle that you can adjust. Apart from that, the tools are all for Charles in the cockpit. Maybe there's something more they've pre-planned.
Iya
but
coy.
there's plenty that you can control from the
Charles
cockpit.
Leclerc frustasi.
Your differential settings, your brake
Lewis
balance,
Hamilton merasa beban. Aduh.
But it can be completely overruled if you crack
5
on a load of
detik.
front wing, which
5
maybe
detik loh.
as the fuel comes down, you can add a bit of front, and it's
Russell jadi 3,6 di belakang.
this man much harder. Either way, he is now not in contention. It doesn't seem like it was traffic or anything else in play.
Perhatikan aja ini Norris Piastri. Itu nanti jadi battle apa akhir race yang seru itu.
Continuing to hound Norris. Half a second on the last lap. Norris now into free air. Piastri now into traffic. 16 laps to go. I think Oscar's going to catch him, but it's not easy to overtake.
It isn't. especially when you've got the win on the line between two contenders. It's a big moment, isn't it? 16 points.
Alah, istimewa memang. Ayo Hamilton, kasihan sih Hamilton udah nyerah kemarin. Iya, dia merasa beban di wawancara kan. Timnya nggak salah kok, mobilnya bagus, timnya bagus. Yang salah di sini aku. Aku merasa useless di sini. Gitu. Ya jadi this time kasih paham, this time stress lagi.
15 laps to go, the soft tyre will make it, and that is about, he'll lose out to Oscar, but he wants the warm-up then that a soft tyre would provide if there's a safety car to try and gazump his teammate on a restart, which he was on the receiving end of last time out.
Yeah, a reverse scenario of 7 days ago in the Formula One World Championship, where Norris was able to get the gap down but never get close enough to get into the DRS range.
And that is good communication from engineer to driver there, just preempting what would happen in this scenario, and it really shows how much Leclerc's dropping away. I mean, not long ago we were thinking Leclerc still was in contention to win the race, had maybe the best chance of winning the race, but in this stint he is so slow. He's 8 tenths per lap slower than Piastri.
0,7. Udah habis kayaknya. Baterainya habis, bannya habis.
Different rear suspension. It's helped them on 1 lap pace.
Dari tadi segitu sih Norris Piastri.
Shock pole position. It really was a shock pole position, but Russell's got that.
Lihat Leclerc Russell 2,5 ya Allah.
Looking at the race leader, he's got a buffer of 5.5 as he begins his 56th lap.
Norris does his best lap of the Grand Prix. 24 laps into this stint on hard tyres. He has kept something in them for the end of the race. Piastri does his best. He's again 6 tenths quicker than his teammate, so the gap is coming down. There's 14 laps to go. He should still catch Lando, but what tyres will either of them have when they find each other on the circuit?
And that will be everything.
Russell 2,1
decided with strategy offsets in the past here late on between Verstappen and Hamilton. That's what it looks like on board through 3 with George Russell climbing to turn number 4, and there he will see his rival for the podium.
This time nggak jadi kasih paham coy, percuma upgrade mahal-mahal. Piastri 5,5 detik, Piastri 5 detik, masih ada sekitar 14 lap lagi.
Now 5 seconds. Oscar Piastri with the fastest middle sector of the Grand Prix so far.
1-2 menarik, 3-4 juga menarik. Siapa yang kira-kira masuk podium nggak tahu.
Piastri have got past the gaggle of cars that are running nose to tail. You've got Ocon, then Gasly, Albon, and Hulkenberg that have all been quite close together. You're seeing that now. Charles Leclerc is coming up to lap them, but the McLarens have passed
Mobil buka lapak
that.
emang kalah
More in a
coy.
straight fight than they have been so far.
4,8. Kesepanan beneran. Dia kayak 1 lap 2 lap tadi kayak kita rehat sejenak, kita cas baterai dulu. Langsung digas lagi nih sekarang nih. Russell 1,6.
His first Grand Prix win. Lando won
3 tikungan lagi masuk DRS dia.
The better strategy really, undercut his teammate, but McLaren reinstated the positions. There's going to be no team orders on this one. I can't imagine as Piastri gets closer and closer.
There might be. Neither one of them would be listening. We know.
Would you dare
1,4
give a team orders to either of them? We've already heard that Oscar's main focus in this Grand Prix isn't necessarily even about beating Leclerc or a possible race win. He just wants to beat his teammate. You try telling him now to hold positions. It ain't happening.
No, but being in 3rd position is crucial. George Russell knows that from Austria last year when the top 2 in the race made contact and they gifted him Grand Prix victory that day.
4,4 sorry.
To catch the Ferrari up front. And Mercedes have said that all weekend.
Ferrari ini nasibnya sama MBO, bro, sama-sama merah ya kan.
All the way through.
Ini ya apa susunan playernya bagus nih. Susunan iya kan MU kan bagus nih susunan playernya. Yang jelek manajemennya. Ferrari juga gitu. Susunan playernya bagus nih. Leclerc sama Hamilton 7 kali juara dunia. Sama calon juara dunia yang diprediksikan gitu kan. Wonderkid salah satu wonderkid di generasinya Russell dan kawan-kawan. Manajemennya kayak astagfirullah.
Someone provide an overtake when we're not expecting any more pit stops.
Yang penting orang Itali sih. Lihat pentas deket itu loh. Ya, what the hell? 0,6.
From 8 to 7 to 6 to 5 to where it is right now. 3.9 seconds between.
Tebak kesalipnya gimana coba? Kesalipnya gimana kira-kira?
Out of Lando Norris, having made his way through the traffic as well.
Yeah, Norris did his best lap on the last lap, half a second slower than Piastri.
Kesalipnya gimana kira-kira?
Right
Kata aku kena DRS. DRS di tikungan pertama. Alonso, santai dulu gak sih? Habis pijat Pak Komeng posisi 50 sedang nih. 57 coy, Alonso Stroll. Habis dapat upgrade dari Mercedes kayaknya. Mercedes juga lagi gacor nih tiba-tiba. Mesinnya baru.
Intent braking move into the first turn for Charles Leclerc. He will try and give it everything to stand on the podium for the 6th time this season. George Russell's trying to do exactly the same thing.
Close again, coming through turn 2. Here we go, Bisa Cam with the man who is desperate to get back on the podium.
Dashboard, kamera dashboard.
Looked like he'd had at minimum the Mercedes covered off today, but Russell just sort of kept in there, didn't he? Mercedes have focused on themselves, not worried about the top 3. And here they are, heading towards a podium if they can just clear this Ferrari that is floundering around in this stint.
Well, Ferrari have that updated rear suspension. Mercedes have had to revert to an old suspension specification after getting lost with the development of the car.
Iya, upgrade suspensi nggak ada apa-apanya, coy.
Talked about pre-race.
Aneh banget.
What they were trying to fix by reverting to that old specification, but Russell has now
Piastri 3,4 bisa 10 lap.
How quickly can he force Leclerc?
Ini sekarang tampilannya Leclerc Russell ya. 0,6.
Lap 60 of 70, 3.4 seconds between the top 2, just 7 tenths between the next 2. Leclerc ahead of Russell, and can he find a way by? Albon's been told to get past Sainz, who has just made his way past Hülkenberg, and Sainz now climbs to 15th place.
Lah ngapain so position? Lu kan 15-16 bang.
For Leclerc, who will have to look ahead, and there you can just see a glimpse of
oh, kalau sedekat ini kayaknya bisa tahan sih si Leclerc. Aduh, racing lane-mu kayak tai gitu. 0,200 coy. Waduh, asik
V6 turbocharged engines through turn 4 into the far longer turn 5, and then the fiddly chicane ahead. Russell dreaming of a move at turn number 1.
2,9 Norris Piastri. Dari dashboardnya Russell ke Leclerc.
and Hamilton, who are all running together. Norris will probably catch them in the next couple of laps. You just look in front and see them getting closer and closer, and just think, please get out of the way as soon as possible.
Tahu ini nggak meme yang why are you running? Why are you running? Nah, Leclerc kayak gitu coy.
And closer than Norris got 1 week ago. He's under 3 seconds.
6 tenths on the last lap. He is going to get there. He is going to get there, but how many laps will he have to attack? And will Norris have anything left in those rears to keep him at bay? Russell.
Oh, that's super late on the brakes from Russell, who tucked back in, and I've turned the ball.
Enggak apa-apa. Abang pukul-pukul meja sendiri.
It was a big attempt. Deserved a bit of volume, I think, having a dive from there.
He came from miles back. Daniel Ricciardo-esque.
But he had the stopping power in the Mercedes to not lock up and still make the apex.
Dive-bomnya jelek.
Shows how early Leclerc's braking there. The Ferrari is a bit trimmed out on downforce.
Dive-bomnya jelek banget, nggak gitu coy, caranya coy.
But he braked very early in that move, and Russell will know that. He was too far back for the chance there.
Iya, terlalu jauh. Dia masih terlalu jauh untuk dive bomb kayak gitu tadi.
And he is going to Daniel Ricciardo it up the inside of Charles Leclerc. That's going to be George Russell's best opportunity.
Jadi 0,6
and
kan?
now he'll bank that in the last 9 laps. He'll know that Ferrari is vulnerable at the end of that
0,5 balik lagi. Tetep aja tadi udah 0,3 udah segini.
Lando Norris has never won the
Dive bomb
Hungarian
kayak gitu.
Grand Prix. He had a long time to think about letting
Kasihan amat juga dua Red
Even
Bull.
under braking, I committed, and he moved while braking. Almost lost the back of him.
Clearly not allowed.
Keep cool, mate. You'll get him.
Russell gak terima.
It might even be here for George Russell.
Take
gak terima.
1 lap later. And there's the late move.
Kacau.
That was real brinkmanship between the pair of them.
Ngawur defend kayak apa itu? Russell
to take third position in the Grand Prix despite Charles Leclerc's efforts. Russell is
Kesal guys.
Yeah, you want moving under braking? I'll give you some moving
Kesal
under
guys.
braking.
Racing line kayak babi
All
gitu.
the way to the inside from Charles Leclerc, desperate
Habis
to
mobilnya
at least
habis.
cling onto a podium.
Habis.
But I'm going to be fascinated to see what
Racing line jelek. Kalau pasti ada di highlight ini.
pace is just gone from the Ferrari that looked comfortable for the first 2/3 of the Grand Prix, holding Piastri back. The car took pole.
Tapi belum bisa dimatikan. Kenapa? Karena masih
they are nowhere.
masih ada Norris, Piastri masih battle habis ini.
The Ferrari ahead, seeing
Leclerc senyumku menjadi pole position.
closing the door, leaving a car's width. And they got away with it.
The first one I thought was acceptable from Leclerc. I have to say that one was just massive, moving under braking, just shutting the door. And Russell is
ngawur,
point, and it's
ngawur.
to change your line because you're on the limit of grip.
Leclerc kayak ya wes kayak wes give up gitu.
Oh, and then he has a
Hasilnya
think about it
bulat
back at
banget.
turn 2, but it's just not going to happen there with barely a car's width on the inside.
Beneran kerusak-kerusuk 1,8 Norris Piastri sekarang. Udah kita lupakan soal Leclerc, kita lupakan soal Russell. 1,5 di situ. Ini menarik sih. Norris.
Traffic's gonna ruin my race.
Kembali lagi dengan pull doang menang kagak.
3 cars ahead. Antonelli,
Real
Hadjar,
coy.
and Lewis Hamilton. And now the gap between
1,5.
Norris and Piastri is 1.5 seconds.
Kayaknya ditahan biar
Norris has said on the radio
trafficnya
the traffic's
gampang
going
nanti.
to ruin his race. He's appealing to his team to get on the phone to race control and try and get those 1 lap down to move out of the way of the race leaders. That's mandated by the blue flags.
Yeah, they're fighting for 10th place. Hamilton's got more pace than those ahead, but he's stuck in a DRS train behind Hadjar and Antonelli. Concentrating
Nice
on
try Leclerc, nice try banget.
And now he's in the dirty air range that Piastri's in behind him as well. So
Like spot of
very
rain.
tricky for
Damn.
Lando to deal with
This
this.
time
Sliding
kita
around
upacara
in the
bendera dengan
dirty
lesu.
air, and with his teammate with much more grip now, almost within DRS range. This is just
Aduh,
bad timing.
ya jadi Indonesia Raya coy.
He's not getting the order to jump out of the way yet, and he's desperate to try and get at least a point out of today for himself.
1,2 ya?
But he's not.
1,3. Next lap
giving
dapat
Lando
DRS
a
ini
tough
dia.
time of it, just by chance of where they're encountering each other and where the pace is at for
Sektor
Norris.
2-nya
And for Hamilton,
Piastri
who's actually pretty quick
lebih
at this
kuat
stage.
daripada
What a season these
Norris.
two are putting on in the Formula One World Championship. Lando Norris has 4 Grand Prix victories. Oscar Piastri has 6. No Australian driver.
Padahal Leclerc ini
has
mau
ever won
podium,
so many
mengharumkan
races in a
bangsa
single
dengan
season.
helm spesial.
He's trying to become
Yoi.
his country's first world
Udah
champion
helm
since
spesial
Alan Jones
Agustusan
in
coy.
1980. This
Malah
is a massive moment
gak
in the
didengar
battle.
sama
Piastri is nearly
Ferrari.
within DRS.
And he will get that DRS if he can find just over a 10th in these
Nice
final
try, Bob.
couple of corners.
Nice try banget.
This is Max Verstappen.
Ini Verstappen ya.
He's been working up against Lawson ahead. And he just had a moment of correction there into the first turn. And
Understeer dan oversteer secara
investigation is the
bersamaan.
message from race control.
Itu
That is
tadi,
Hülkenberg,
guys.
that is Gasly, and that is a hip and shoulder into the first turn. Hülkenberg running in 14th, Gasly dropping to 16th.
Udah
And past Lewis Hamilton,
0,7 coy.
both of them out front.
0,7
But
coy.
look at the
Wah,
gap.
menarik.
It's 6/10
Menarik
of a
ya, sumpah.
second.
Sumpah menarik ini.
Crunch time. This could be one of the deciding moments of the entire season. This is a 14-point swing in the championship at stake and a precious Grand Prix win before
Plot
the end of the
twistnya
summer break.
crash ya.
9 points. They
Jangan
finished
lah
like
jangan
this.
gitu,
The
gak
gap will
baik.
be 9 points between them.
Gak
If
boleh
Lando Norris can hang
mendoakan
on and
yang
win his
jelek-jelek,
first
gak
ever
baik.
Hungarian Grand Prix, or is it going to go up to 23 with 25?
Tapi kalau McLaren
awarded for a
dua
Grand Prix win?
McLaren ini
Norris
crash.
still has 2 cars ahead of
Hamilton
him, but
masuk
he's still
poin.
struggling through this middle sector in that
Leclerc
dirty
nomor
air
2.
behind Hadjar and behind
20
Karena
minutes
Kimi
ago,
Raikkonen ada di
he didn't know
jajaran
if he was going
Ferrari.
to be able to beat Lando Norris. He's got DRS. Lando Norris has not got that. The two rivals, line astern. Last year, he
Kimi
got
Raikkonen,
by
Sebastian Vettel. Aduh ngelek. Sorry guys. Sorry guys.
Got to make a move in the next few corners.
An identical car ahead, and the man who stands between him and the World Championship. Oscar Piastri is a champion of Formula 2 and Formula 3. He is chasing his maiden title, but so is the man who's 0.6 of a second ahead. And catching is one thing. You know the old adage, passing is another.
So where does Antonelli let Norris through? If it's into 12, that's not great for Lando because Oscar will get through as well, and then he'll have a nice DRS chance. Here's turn 12. Antonelli stays ahead. Now Norris may well pick up the DRS for himself.
Underrated aja Felipe Massa.
He's not going to, because Antonelli jumps out of the way at turn 13, so this will be a chance for Piastri now.
Can he get closer than he has been at any stage? One stop for Lando Norris, 2 stops for Oscar Piastri. The World Championship on the line, and this is a good gap for Lando Norris to take down. The gap actually went up to 0.9 of a second. And he's ticking off the laps here as Lando gets closer and closer. What more does Piastri have?
The lines for Norris are getting scrappier though. Piastri will flick open the DRS down towards turn 2, but it's still not enough. It's just about closing that gap to within a couple of car lengths. And then think about an audacious pass, and I think it's going to take something special to get past your title rival and teammate for a win with so few laps remaining here. This is it now, straight fight. Half a second between them. Fresher tyres for Piastri. Norris hanging on to it at the end of 35 laps and
turun berapa
counting
posisi?
on
Turun
his hard
3
tyres.
posisi, Wak.
How well poised is this? Incredible. Different strategies meeting at the end of the Grand Prix.
DOTD-nya Bortoleto, Alonso, Leclerc.
Including Gabriel Bortoleto, who is set for his best result in Formula 1. Max Verstappen trying to get past Liam Lawson as well, and there's 0.6 of a second for the final point. But this is for the World Championship, and how close can Piastri get by the 14th and final corner? What launch can he get onto the main straight?
180 beats per minute for Lando Norris behind the visor right now. These are huge pressure moments. You see his teammate right there. It could be crunch time. Piastri has a big snap.
That's the corner. That's the crucial corner. That snap costs him momentum. What a view from the grandstand at turn number 1. Lap 68 of 70. And the first time that Piastri has tried to scare Lando Norris off the road.
Just a scare though. He was...
Jelek, sorry guys. Di Norris jelek tadi. Dia belok mendadak di situ tadi. Sorry banget.
Too far back. It was a gasp from the crowd who all took to their feet, but it's not on that time. 2 more attempts for Oscar.
Piastri can't do that too many more times though without damaging the tyres. It's old rubber for Norris, but Piastri has taken a lot to close down the gap.
Yeah, Lando checking the mirrors up towards turn 4. There's not going to be an attempt there, but he just wants to see where his rival is and hopes with that flash to the inside.
Tikungan terakhir.
Entah kenapa. Mistake. He hasn't. He's still there, launching himself over the curve at turn 7. He's got to just get fractionally closer. That oversteer coming out of the final corner probably cost him on the last lap. If he can possibly find that little bit more traction out of the final turn, he's going to be able to launch something into turn 1.
Massive moments in front of us in the destiny of who takes the World Championship this year through turn 12, past the sea of gravel that's been created on the racing line. Watch the second car here. Does he have a wiggle through the 14th and final corner, or can he stay and get the power on? Fights it a little bit more. The gap is 0.6 of a second. It was much better for him. That will decrease all the while. The Grand Prix victory on the line. Piastri shaping for it, going late, locking up. And he avoids his teammate, but did that moment cost him the Grand Prix win?
He's still there, he's got DRS again, and he's going to have one more attempt to try and win it. He's got braking ability on the inside, but not from that far back. That was a Hail Mary and some, and they both live to fight another day. I bet they can laugh about it in the garage.
Well, that's all they can do at the moment. They're leaving their 2 contenders out there. That was late on the brakes and then some, all locked up to the pinch point at turn number 1. The checkered flag is being prepared, but who will it wave for?
One more chance for Piastri to make that move correctly at the first corner. Norris doesn't want to over-defend. If he defends thin air, he'll be
Coba lihat di kiri-kiri tuh, pasti tembus sih. Nah, gitu loh.
So close, aren't they?
Look at this on board. Nearly the front wing ripped off. They got away with it.
Kacau.
Same reminder, Oscar.
Kacau.
Both cars have been told to remember that there's a 200th win for McLaren on the line here in Formula One. And the gap has come out to 7/10 of a second. He's further back. Over the line we go. This is the 70th and last lap. Can Oscar Piastri do anything?
Lebih sabar dia. Dia jadi lebih sabar di situ.
DRS again. Is this going to be the last opportunity? This is the last traditional opportunity, and Norris keeps him at bay.
Norris was checking the mirrors,
Udah
defending
selesai.
in the middle of the road just to deter another one of those whopping lunges from
300 sih.
And now Oscar's got to get
300 sih.
creative because there is no conventional pass.
Aduh, ngelek. Malah ngelek. Sorry guys.
They scream through. There's no traditional overtaking
700,
opportunity
600.
as we
Udah.
come to the end, but it's not that simple
Keren, Norris.
when your tires are old. And you can see that Piastri is going to chase him all the way to the end. But that lockup was the last chance. The gap came out, and it wasn't enough. What a charge from Piastri. What a response from Lando Norris. The gap in the World Championship will be 9 points between the papaya pair for the 200th time in Formula One. McLaren win. Lando Norris wins the Hungarian Grand Prix by 6 tenths of a second. A brilliant performance from both of them. But the gap is under 10 points, and it's Norris punching the air, victorious for the first time in Budapest.
What a dramatic finale. Relief on the pit wall for Zach Brown and
gagal
Andrea Stella.
finish.
George Russell takes a podium. It's a great result for him, and Leclerc has disappeared behind. Miserable for Ferrari.
Leclerc langsung menghilang.
Dealing with that under pressure was exceptional from Norris.
Tiba-tiba plus 15 detik tuh.
39 laps on this tyre.
Keren.
Putting a foot wrong. It wouldn't have taken much to open the door there for Piastri, who had 14 lap pressure tyres and was giving it everything, but Norris held firm in what is the most highly pressured environment.
Yes. Mega job, mate. Mega job.
Lovely. Good racing. Good strategy. Good call.
Nice.
Well fought. Thank you guys.
Piastri.
Last year,
adanya itu tadi gak gitu, bisa dia.
About the right thing to do. This year, it was a straight fight.
Balik dia ngototnya di lap 69 bukan di lap 70. Tandanya ngototnya di lap 70 kayaknya bisa sih.
Has to settle for second.
Nice try banget bang.
Another Grand Prix of brilliance from the pair of them. A huge moment for Norris to repel Piastri.
Well done, mate. Well done. Close, Oscar.
Oke, nice.
Great racing. Good job. So, Oscar,
Mungkin kalian mau nonton fullnya next time. Maksudnya biar gak cuman telemetrinya doang di kiri situ. Kasih, kok ngelek sih? Halo.
Had the advantage at the start.
Kasih link.
But he's just been done by strategy.
Biar
Other side of the garage, and that will
bisa masuk
like
ke server tuh guys.
For Oscar, title rivals.
Server Discord.
They're no longer playing together. They're playing entirely opposite each other. And the Norris
Gimana
side of the
ngasihnya
garage
di
beat the Piastri side of the garage, and it means so much for them.
Kolom komentar dah.
Who'd have thought it? When Lando Norris was behind Fernando Alonso at the start of the Grand Prix, that forced him onto the one stop, and he knows it's a one stop because he was picking up grass on the way back to try and add some weight to the car.
Itu kalau di server itu aku full berani aku.
Antonelli, by the way, side point finished 10th.
Full siaran aku.
Laps on a hard tire, went all the way to the end and got a point out of it for Mercedes, holding back Hadjar and Hamilton.
Cuman memang nggak pakai komentari kan.
It's huge, and it's a reprieve for Norris, who he's always been good at this
Takutnya
circuit.
orang-orang server
Take the
ganggu.
win, having started on pole last year.
Keren.
But I think for Lando, the bigger thing here is soaking up the pressure.
He said earlier in the season he doesn't know what to do sometimes when he wins race.
Wes habis belum, beliau ganti streamingnya post race. Watch.
Bagus helmnya, Cok. Beda memang sama Piastri ini.
Dramatic moment with 2 to go in the Grand
Jarang menang tuh.
Prix.
it must have been millimetres from George Russell, taking another wild, distant third to Grand Prix victory as he did in Austria last year. And you're right, getting the poor start, being stuck behind Russell in that first stint, has handed Norris the best strategy on the day. And it's ironic, Piastri fighting for the race lead all the time, actually ended up putting him on the back foot, and strategy wins the day in Budapest.
Charles Leclerc played a huge part in this Grand Prix. He finished 42 seconds away from the battling McLarens.
Hey, it's only 16 seconds up on Fernando Alonso. Got a 5-second penalty as well for that.
Terima kasih sudah menonton sampai sejauh ini dan terima kasih sudah berdonasi tadi ya guys ya. Asik banget. Asik nih. Race-nya asik, cuman Ferrari-nya apes gitu aja. Loh, helmnya wis spesial Agustusan coy. Lah kok malah blunder.
Fernando Alonso scored Aston Martin's best result of the season.
Ya gimana lagi?
He loves it around here. He's only missed the points once here in the last 14 Hungarian Grand Prix. The best ever result in Formula 1 for Gabriel Bortoleto, and Sauber's best since 2007.
Wis, udah tinggal perayaan podium-podium. Nggak bisa aku siarin guys. Jadi terima kasih telah menonton. Sampai jumpa di race selanjutnya. Bye bye.
Lewis Hamilton unable to fire his way back.
Salah.
A weekend to forget for him. A weekend and a landmark to remember for McLaren.